Chapter 1122. One day later, shocking news came from the Leviathan Empire that shook the entire continent. The Divine Era war weapon that came out from the underground cemetery and the titled machine, Yellow Sparrow, dispatched by the Empire clashed at the border of the central province. It only lasted for 5 minutes. The Empire's fastest machine, paired with the concept weapon, Thousand Feathers, was defeated along with its driver, Ludwig, the Empire's only female hero-ranked knight. The Yellow Sparrow machine was severely damaged, and Ludwig had to emergency eject to escape, losing the concept weapon Thousand Feathers in the process. Since the Leviathan Empire started building the titled machine, which was only defeated 3 times by a nuclear explosion forbidden spell, this is the first true defeat of the Empire's strongest force representatives. And it wasn't defeated by the forbidden spell, but by the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast, which is also a war weapon. Compared to the ultimate forbidden spell, the Nuclear Explosion Queen, which obviously cannot be easily used, Ludwig XII was even more shocked by the overwhelming power displayed by the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast. Why is it that even though these antique weapons are buried in the underground cemetery and were probably built tens of thousands of years ago, and are in a period of magic tide decline, they can still unleash such terrifying power? According to Poincar's calculations, the power of this Emerald Sea Dragon Beast is several times that of the Yellow Sparrow, and it has a speed advantage. It is known as the fastest and most agile in the Empire. Even the Yellow Sparrow cannot break through its massive defense. The biggest advantage of the titled machine compared to normal hero-ranked strong individuals is the absolute power brought by multiplying its size several times. The Yellow Sparrow is a specially designed reconnaissance assassin-type titled machine optimized for speed, specifically created for the Royal Hero-ranked Knight, Sasha. The entire battle process was like a real bird facing a giant python with metal armor, making it impossible to know where to start. With its advantage of speed and flexible size, the titled machine, Yellow Sparrow, landed hundreds of hits on the opponent within 5 minutes of the battle. The opponent simply launched a water curtain heavenly splendor barrier in the middle, trapping the Yellow Sparrow with no way to escape, then compressed its maneuvering space in one breath, and with another impact, brought down the Yellow Sparrow. The 3 whale shark brothers who were destroyed in seconds by a forbidden nuclear explosion spell, this is the first time the proud titled machine of the Empire has been defeated by the same war weapon. The entire battle process has been fully recorded and it can be said that they lost without a word. That huge body of the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast, along with the unknown armor it wears, is clearly an ancient artifact from tens of thousands of years ago, but it exerts overwhelming strategic advantage against the hummingbird. Poincar, who obtained the data of the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast, even deduced a result that Ludwig XII could not accept. When the hummingbird entered the 1-kilometer range of this Emerald Sea Dragon Beast, its defeat was already inevitable. Once the water curtain heavenly splendor of the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast appears, even if there were 10 hummingbirds on the scene, they would not be able to escape from the trap woven by this water curtain. This means that the antique weapon in Ludwig XII's eyes is not only not outdated in this era, but even surpasses theoretical level of this era. The situation is even worse. Poincar inferred that the power of the current Emerald Sea Dragon Beast is enough to cause the entire Leviathan Empire to collapse economically. As long as it continues to occupy the veins of the Leviathan Empire and cut off the Empire's bridge transportation, then the food and economic distribution in all regions of the Empire, except the central area, will fall into the most difficult situation. Fight, no matter how strong this sea dragon monster is, we must fight. Ludwig XII, who was going crazy, knew the serious consequences of the water being taken over and his eyes turned red. The entire empire was urgently mobilized because of Ludwig XII's will. Originally suppressing the border areas and exploring other titled machines in the Divine Era ruins, all other titled machines received an urgent summons, calling for everyone to gather. Objective: to conquer the ancient weapon Emerald Sea Dragon Beast that has seized control of the Empire's water veins. underground cemetery shocked the whole world just one day after its appearance. At the same time, within the Sia Kingdom, the Iron Giant was also forging ahead through difficulties. Due to the fact that the Sia Kingdom's territory is only about 1/10 of the current Leviathan Empire, past Princess had no worries about encountering any significant resistance from this country. The reason she chose this country as her target for suppression was simply because of its special location. Because this used to be the place where she grew up, disappearing in the history of the ancient kingdom. Her and her father's hometown. Boom. Boom. Walking in the huge forest, every step brought down a large number of trees, startling countless birds that nested in the forest. However, when these birds discovered the last giant, instead of flying away, they curiously flew over, and many birds simply stayed on the giant's broad shoulders. The giant is an earth child, beloved by this world. As the last descendant of the giant clan, the resurrected Black Iron Giant Su also inherited the traits of the Earth Child. As long as they stand on the earth, they possess an endless surge of power. No one can kill Earth Child. The Troll clan inherited some immortality characteristics from the giants, and became the terrifying ace force in the Leviathan faction. And the last giant not only had the tallest and biggest body among the giants, but also the Giant King. If the Troll clan is the ace, then the last giant is the king of aces, the only one in the world who can tear apart dragons with bare hands. In the war for the continental crown during the Divine Era, the last giant, whether in life or death, killed the most dragons, without exception. Good morning, little birds. Today is also a happy day. We quietly approach the enemies, and then strike them with full force. The departed princess extended her hand, playing with the birds flying around the giant. The giant's hand was over 20 meters long, and a flock of birds danced around this giant arm, seemingly amazed by the mightiness of Earth Child. Today, I am just as perfect. In the eyes of the past princess, the giant is herself, and she is the giant. She is her dad's greatest weapon in war. Charging into battle and defeating dragons is a piece of cake for her. Those flying lizards are no match for her at all. In the Divine Era war, she would drag one behind her, bite another at her feet, and hold on to one in her hand, putting on a show of tearing apart dragons. If it weren't for her dad forbidding humans from recording her achievements, she would be the most powerful dragon slayer of that era. Conquering a small country is just like taking a walk in the suburbs. Chapter 1123 The Underground Cemetery, a land from the Divine Era, on the second day of the Ancient Weapons invasion of the continent in the war. The Emerald Sea Dragon Beast has occupied over 30% of the main roads in Leviathan territory, releasing around 100 small weapons made from its own armor plates. These small sea dragons, which measure over a meter long, successfully repelled most of the night orders that came to face them. Apart from a few key routes where the Imperial Army is stationed, the rest of the rivers have been captured. Some of the roads for delivering food in the Leviathan Empire were cut off, causing the price of food in the entire empire to rise dramatically. The residents of the empire started panic buying food and daily necessities, and the whole empire fell into a state of chaos. Ludwig XII, furious about this, swore to destroy the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast that threatened the empire's food security, even if it meant using a forbidden weapon that was still under development. The battle was about to begin. In the Sia Kingdom, the Black Iron Giant finally emerged from the mountains and started moving towards the kingdom's capital. The Black Iron Giant, as if showcasing its own power, didn't walk very quickly and would sometimes stop in strange areas. Those areas were remnants of the Divine Era Kingdom and were also places that the past princess remembered from her past. Unfortunately, after millions of years of separation, these remnants became ruins without any magical protection like the underground cemetery, completely losing the appearance the past princess remembered. The mountains and rivers had familiar shapes, which was why she kept stopping and looking around. Conquering the Sia kingdom was as simple as taking a stroll in the garden. It wasn't like being a dancer who had to fight against the strongest empire in the whole continent. We must try not to damage the country's integrity, as ordered by the Supreme King of Undead from the underground cemetery. We just need to demonstrate the absolute power of the underground cemetery. For the war dancer, who was skilled in cutting off the enemy's supplies and forcing surrender, her approach was to declare war by occupying the Leviathan Empire's water veins. And, taking a stroll, was the way the past princess announced her own power. Standing at a height of 50 meters, the black iron giant could cross any terrain, even swamps and rivers couldn't stop it. The mere act of moving itself was the best deterrent. That colossal steel body, weighing over 10,000 tons, was even more terrifying than the Leviathan Empire's magic armor. If not for the presence of the nuclear explosion queen in the Sia kingdom, the army would have surrendered long ago when faced with such a mobile disaster-like creature. This giant, who came out of the mythological era, could tear dragons apart with its 50-meter height. How can humans fight against such monsters? Perhaps, the golden ancient people who had the 12 constellation gods' weapons could. The Mage Council in the red robes, representing the most glorious peak of the divine era, could also. But what era is this? This is a period of magic tide decline throughout the entire continent, where there are only a few cats with the warlock bloodline. Nowadays, even a mediocre warlock who can barely master a third-rate bewitchment can be seen as a burden to the noble lords, masquerading as a true mage apprentice. Even beings like the princess of the mermaid clan or the priestess of the Lamia clan, who can still perform complete bloodline spells, are considered legendary creatures in this era. And the black iron giant that emerged from the underground cemetery of the mythical era, that's a bona fide super weapon that roamed the battlefields of the divine era, capable of battling dragons head-on. How can something like that move in the present period of magic tide decline? The magic in the air probably doesn't support such a level of monster combat. If humans still possessed this bloodline power, the desperate last mage corps of the divine era wouldn't have taken refuge in the underground cemetery. Due to extreme fear, when the black iron giant passed by human villages, some foolish and ignorant people voluntarily placed various sacrifices at the village entrance. According to the customs of different regions, the types of offerings are also different. Some are rare delicacies, some are fresh from the river, and some are even mentioned in ancient religious records, even offering up young boys and girls. For these closed-off villages, the nuclear explosion queen in the royal capital won't be of any help in times of crisis. When faced with these unconventional giant monsters, it's best to spend some money and get rid of them. Of course, the past princess didn't even bother to glance at these offerings, and simply walked past them. Do these idiots think she's some kind of man-eating monster? She is the eternal 12-year-old princess, the strongest human hero. Even though she has now become a 50-meter-tall black iron giant, the princess will always be a princess, the favorite child of her father, and a superweapon entrusted with a great responsibility. The villages that offered up these offerings mistakenly thought that the giants were approving of their village. They were overjoyed, but it was only the brother and sister who were treated as offerings, on the verge of tears. Compared to the stormy weather on the Leviathan Empire side, the front lines of Sia Kingdom can be considered peaceful. It's not that Queen Ain doesn't want to organize resistance, it's just that after the battle with the Empire, Sia Kingdom's military power has greatly declined. The strongest force in the kingdom now is not the local forces that survived the war with Leviathan Empire, but the recently established Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. Let's not even talk about other things. Just by pulling out the Troll Squad, Lamia Squad, and Mermaid Squad of different races, they are enough to match the upper-level forces of the entire kingdom's knights. With the almost complete disappearance of the human divine era bloodline, the power that these monsters from different races can unleash is enough to shake the foundation of a country. Even if we don't count the squads of different races, the Princess Knight Squad of Leviathan Empire and the Wilderness Bride Group of Northern Alliance are top-notch teams. After receiving the blessing of the divine artifact, the strength of the entire Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order is increasing every day. If they are given enough time, they might truly be able to revive the legendary knights of the divine era. Of course, the biggest trump card of the entire Sia kingdom is none other than Queen Ayn herself, who revealed her true power not long ago. The power of the ultimate forbidden spell, nuclear explosion, is enough to deter the entire continent. This is also why, even after the invasion of 50-meter giants, the kingdom can still continue to function. Everyone is waiting for the kingdom to reveal its trump card, which is the moment they once again use the nuclear explosion forbidden spell. It's not just the power of the kingdom itself, but also the attention of Leviathan Empire, Tribal Alliance, and other continents, that are focused on Her Majesty the Queen of Nuclear Explosions. Chapter 1124, The Giants Are Coming. This is the first day the mainland appeared in the underground cemetery, and the news spread urgently throughout the continent. Due to the use of the warlock bloodline, which is scarce in this era, for synchronous intelligence transmission across kingdom levels, only the highest priority information would be transmitted immediately. Warlocks with special communication bloodline magic don't have to do anything in their lifetime. There are plenty of merchants and nobles waving gold to hire them. They can enter the royal palace if they want, join the Merchants Association if they want, and even if they are captured during war, they are treated well, with good food and accommodation. There is absolutely no abuse, and changing sides is always very popular. After all, they possess the crucial ability of transmitting information for the entire continent, which is much faster than sending messages through carrier pigeons or horse-drawn carriages. This bloodline used to be very common during the Divine Era, similar to the profession of a mailman during that time. It was a common bloodline that mages were trained in. Under the changes of the times, even this originally common bloodline has become highly sought after, indicating how far the human bloodline from the Divine Era has declined. Due to the limited information that the modern warlock bloodline power can transmit daily, only in the most significant events will there be a scene where all warlocks across the continent transmit the same information. The previous battle between the Sia Kingdom Royal Knights and the Empire's First Magic Army Legion, the appearance of the nuclear explosion forbidden spell, and the news of the upcoming establishment of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order, were all transmitted as top priority information to the entire continent in this way. The giants have advanced to the border of the Central Mountains. On the first day of the underground cemetery appearing in the world, signs of what seemed to be a giant sea dragon were discovered on the Leviathan Empire's side, causing tension among all the kings and tribal leaders across the continent. Compared to the emerald sea dragon beast that frequently dives into the water, the black iron giant doesn't try to disguise itself at all. It's not that the black iron giant cannot do it, but rather, it looks down upon doing so. As one of humanity's most powerful assets during the Divine Era, the final giants remained hidden in the Central Mountains for hundreds of years until the last war reached its heated phase and they officially joined the fight. As giants born from the earth, as long as they sleep within the mountains, their bodies naturally blend into the landscape, to the point that even magic cannot discern them. The last giant, because he ate something he shouldn't have, slept through the entire war between giants and dragons. When he woke up, he found that he was the only giant left in the world, and he had grown to be 50 meters tall. When he was discovered by the Golden Humans, he learned that the giant clan had been completely wiped out, and he was the last one left. He was filled with anger and immediately joined the human army that was planning to resist the dragons. In the decisive battle for the Continental Crown, the last giant sacrificed everything and died a glorious death. This marked the end of the legend of the giant clan. The next thing that happened was the legend of the King of Undead. With the passing of the last giant, the soul of the departed princess was infused into the giant's body, giving birth to the mighty Black Iron Giant. The Black Iron Giant, born as the ultimate undead weapon on the battlefield of the Divine Era, not only inherited the unreasonable power of the last giant, surpassing even the dragons, but also possessed the Earth Child's attributes. It no longer had any weaknesses. It had no vulnerabilities, no weaknesses in its spirit, and could fight endlessly without ever stopping. Even though the princess who inherited the powers of the giant somehow believed that the king of undead was her father, this small flaw didn't affect the combat abilities of the Black Iron Giant. It seemed that the body of the Black Iron Giant and the past princess were perfectly synchronized. These two beings, with completely different forms of existence, fused together in a completely new way. Not a dead person, nor a living creature, the ultimate undead weapon, the Black Iron Giant, has surpassed the concept of normal intelligent beings, and can be regarded as a great eternal creation. When stepping on the ground, there is no such thing as defeat. For the sake of her father's command, no matter how powerful the opponent may be, past princess will bravely charge forward. This is her fighting style. Tactics and such, never learned. Is it important? She is not responsible for cutting off the enemy's logistics like the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast, which would interfere with the overall situation. The warfare skills of the Black Iron Giant are similar to those of the Troll clan, descendants of giants. There's no need to ask what the enemy is, only need to ask where the enemy is, and then charge ahead. From this point of view, it's hard for anyone to believe that the two races have nothing to do with each other. However, unlike the giant clan, although the princess herself is also very warlike, more precisely, she fights because of her father, the king of undead's command, but still maintains the grace and elegance of a princess. She took a walk while admiring the scenery, playing with the birds, and reminiscing about the past, showcasing the princess's elegant style. On the same day, the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast, which was carrying out a mission for the Leviathan Empire, engaged in a battle against the Empire's strongest reconnaissance machine, the Yellow Finch, defeating one of the Empire's strongest hero-ranked knights, Ludwig Shasha, within 5 minutes, shocking the entire continent. The giant has emerged from the central mountains. This simple announcement caused countless sleepless nights and prompted many people to flee the Sia kingdom overnight. They trusted that nuclear explosion Queen Nine could defeat this monster giant, but it would still be better to keep a distance from these two monsters. Anyone who had witnessed the remnants of the nuclear explosion forbidden spell felt an innate fear when faced with battles against creatures of this level. This was not a battle for ordinary mortals to witness. Except for a few fearless intelligence agents, no one dared to approach the Black Iron Giant. The following day, more news arrived. The giant has entered the territory of the Sia kingdom, and war is about to begin. Once again, we warn you, the war against the giant is imminent. Ancient weapons resembling sea dragons have shown their might, defeating numerous Knight Orders of the Empire. Only 3 Knight Orders have managed to withstand the attacks of the enemy's forces. Shocking, the truth that you must know is that the owner of the underground cemetery is actually the great mystery of ancient civilizations, what made the bodies that have been silent for thousands of years come to life. The king of undead, he was originally a great hero of our human race, who prevented the hero from resting in peace. On the notice tokens of the empire and kingdom, astonishing news kept being written, causing countless people to be frightened and discuss incessantly. The first substantial defeat of the Leviathan Empire, the reappearance of mysterious ancient weapons, and the giants entering the civilized kingdom. The direction of the times began to evolve towards an unpredictable path. Chapter 11:25 The evening of the second day when the underground cemetery appeared in the world. Even if it moved at a walking speed, the Black Iron Giant, which is equivalent to only 1/10 of the Leviathan Empire, with a height exceeding 50 meters and the ability to traverse any terrain, still entered the kingdom. Without receiving Ein's command, a group of passionate young nobles formed a team to challenge the Black Iron Giant, hoping to become heroes like in mythological stories who defeat dragons. These knights, who have read too many novels, are foolish. past princess didn't even bother to look at them. They couldn't even get close to the giant before being knocked out by the earth-shaking footsteps. Several people fell off their horses and broke their legs. This was the first time there were casualties in the war between the Sia Kingdom and the Black Iron Giant, further fueling people's panic. Representatives from various factions, totaling over 100 people, gathered in front of the Divine Era Tower, urging Queen Ayn to immediately use Sia Kingdom's ultimate power, the nuclear explosion, to kill this terrifying monster before it reaches the capital. If this 50-meter monster gets any closer, the consequences would be unimaginable. Those who have seen the remnants of the nuclear explosion forbidden spell know that once unleashed, this ultimate forbidden spell of the Divine Era will completely destroy everything within tens of kilometers, and its shockwave and swirling dust can even reach the capital over 100 kilometers away. Now is the best opportunity to use the nuclear explosion forbidden spell because the giant has entered a somewhat delicate area. Whether it was by chance or a heaven-sent opportunity, the giant seems to have been attracted to the remnants of the nuclear explosion forbidden spell and stopped in that area the next night. Now is the best time to launch the nuclear explosion forbidden spell. If we miss this night, it will be too late once that giant attacks the capital. These arrogant nobles of the kingdom almost treated Ayn's nuclear explosion forbidden spell as their own, knowing exactly how to use it and when. Well, if Ayn really mastered the ultimate forbidden spell of nuclear explosion, she might take the opportunity while the Black Iron Giant mysteriously lingered in the nuclear blast ruins. It's a rare and golden opportunity that should not be missed. Unfortunately, she doesn't know how. The so-called queen of the nuclear explosion is just a huge misunderstanding. It's not that she's lying or anything, she never said anything. Everyone just assumed she was a Divine Era warlock who possessed the nuclear explosion forbidden spell. Ayn says it's a big misunderstanding. It takes time for a warlock to awaken and harness their own power. In fact, she's not even a hero-ranked warlock. Maybe everyone has a huge misconception about her being only 14. Even in the Divine Era, there were no 14-year-old warlocks capable of mastering Divine Era forbidden spells. Why is everyone acting like it's a given that she has that power now? However, she does have confidence because even though she herself never mastered the power of nuclear explosion, someone else did. She believes that Lord Silver Dragon has that power. The problem is, Yunshi himself doesn't think so. Just escaped from being chased by his 4 ex-girlfriends, and having to bear the curse of Northern God's domain supreme dragon god Asha, he doesn't possess the true power of star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel. Regardless of the strength of that Black Iron Giant, from the fact that it emerged from the underground cemetery and the Tower of Heaven rose, the situation is very uncertain. This world doesn't seem to be truly isolated from the closed world of the past. It seems that there are influences from other worlds as well. Even in the previous Water God's world, there were outsiders like Shay Alongness the Sky Sword. As long as a world is located within the Endless God's domain, it will inevitably be influenced by other worlds. Yunshi had already noticed this from the structure of this Divine Era Tower. The construction level of this world is too high for an egg-hatching tower unaffected by the passage of time, far exceeding the highest level of the Divine Era as speculated by Yunshi based on books. Moreover, he discovered that thing. Speaking of that, it was really a very accidental discovery. While Yunshi was still inside the dragon egg, in order to not completely yield to the tempting surroundings, he diligently used his senses to explore the area and then discovered it. Ayn used the secret weapon. Faced with Yunshi's high hopes, Sia Kingdom felt that it was time to reveal their true trump card. Secret weapon. Ayn expressed her unawareness of such a thing. Our Sia Kingdom's secret weapon is you, Lord Silver Dragon, who came from the starry sky, and besides that, it is this Divine Era Tower that has now been proven to be used for hatching eggs. Other than being able to hatch eggs of the highest quality and maintain the magical standards of the Divine Era, allowing trolls, lamia, and mermaids to grow rapidly, what other secret weapons does this country have? If they had such a thing, her father and mother would have used it when facing the invasion of the Leviathan Empire, and it wouldn't have ended in the tragic death of the last battle. I can't detonate, you know. Ayn quietly told Yunxi. She really doesn't know that legendary forbidden spell. That ultimate forbidden spell is just a theoretical concept among mages even in the divine era, and it's not something that humans can dabble in. Is it not that? Isn't that thing right under the tower? Yunxi looked at Queen Ayn with a puzzled expression. It's already this time, and the giants have come, why haven't they activated that thing? After all, based on his perception inside the dragon egg, that thing is extraordinary and can rival the black iron giant. Ah, I know, brother. It's that one, sister. Adley shouted excitedly, dancing with her hands and feet. As a child who always ran around in the tower, Adley was familiar with everything in the Divine Era Tower, including certain things located at the bottom of the tower. So, what is it exactly? Ayn expressed her hardship, not understanding what Lord Silver Dragon and Adley were talking about. If the kingdom has any secret weapons, father and mother would definitely use them. Don't you know how to activate it? Yunxi realized he may have made a joke, as Ayn genuinely seemed unaware of the existence of that thing. It's not surprising, if it weren't for his intuition as a mediocre puppet maker, he wouldn't have discovered what that thing is and the immense power it hides. After all, just by looking at the appearance, it was probably a broken puppet that didn't resemble a human. Chapter 11:26 Start. The Kingdom's Secret Weapon. Adley and Lord Silver Dragon both know about a weapon that I don't know about. Ayn, the nuclear explosion queen who is seen as the world's #1, and who took control of the kingdom at the age of 14, is seriously doubting her own life. She understood every word they said, but why did it become a world puzzle when they were put together? Even my parents don't know about our secret weapon at home. Actually, it's the thing hidden in the underground palace. Yunxi also didn't know what that thing was, even though it was clearly a treasure of Ayn's family. The hidden treasure. Ayn took a deep breath. As the owner of the Divine Era Tower, even the faraway Lord Silver Dragon knew about it, but she herself had no idea about such a treasure. It's really embarrassing, oh no. Why? Adley, how did you know? What is it exactly? Sister, it's that, right there. Adley held Ayn's hand and pointed below the 12 Constellation Palace. The underground warehouse. Now Ayn finally knew what Adley was talking about. It is the deepest level of the Divine Era Tower, used to store a collection of meaningful items and everyday supplies. Since the Divine Era Tower is only open to the public during Ayn's generation, no one else is allowed inside. Therefore, it also stores enough food to last for several years. The question is, does this underground warehouse have any weapons or secret weapons that can deal with the terrifying 50-meter giant? Is it one of the weapons from the 12 constellation gods? Yes, besides this, Ayn couldn't imagine what other secret weapon could threaten the 50-meter giant in this situation. Lord Silver Dragon should be able to use the 12 constellation gods' weapons. After all, Lord Silver Dragon is a great and wise creature that has traveled across the stars. Adley, do you know what that weapon is? Ayn quietly asked her sister. The 12 constellation gods' weapons are hidden in their own warehouse, and she doesn't know anything about them. Yes, don't you remember telling me about it, sister? Adley looked at Ayn with an innocent expression. Did I ever tell you when I discovered the trace of the constellation gods' weapons? Ayn became more and more confused, and her thought process was turning into a mess. If it's that thing, it should be able to counter that giant. According to the information Yunxi perceived, the thing in the underground warehouse of the Divine Era Tower is extraordinary. Maybe, just like the suddenly rising tower, it is a product that surpasses the civilization of this era. The puppet maker wasn't very skilled, but this work was perfect. It was much better than anything a beginner like him could create. The only problem was that this piece seemed to have been abandoned for a long time. Its energy was fading away, like a candle in the wind. Who created this work and put it in the underground warehouse of the Divine Era Tower? With these questions in mind, Yunxi, Ein, and Adley ventured into the underground warehouse. This warehouse served as a storage facility for the Divine Era Tower. It contained all kinds of items and the collections of previous High Tower masters. It was divided into different sections for strategic supplies, daily items, and personal belongings. When the High Tower masters passed away, their cherished possessions were often stored in this underground warehouse. Adley used to love adventuring in this underground warehouse as a child, until something happened that made her stop. As they reached the warehouse displaying the collections of past High Tower masters, Yunxi stopped and nodded in approval. "This is it. Sister, that one, it's that one." Adley looked at the tightly closed warehouse door with excitement and a little fear. The ancient warehouse was securely locked with chains adorned with runes, which had been locked by Ein herself. Because Adley would always come here to play around, and there are some dangerous things inside that can't be played with casually. For this reason, she also weaved a lie to scare her little sister. That happened 2 years ago, and for a 7-year-old Adley, she probably took her lie seriously. "Open the door." Ein extended her hand and unlocked the warehouse with the runic lock. With Adley's current constitution, soaked with Lord Silver Dragon's essence, the magical relics inside wouldn't harm her anymore. The problem is, based on Ein's understanding of the collection inside this warehouse, none of the items have true battlefield-level power. Inside, there were the belongings of the Tower Masters of the Divine Era. They were a bit strange because they lived in environments with high magic concentration and had masters with pure warlock bloodlines. However, they would occasionally twitch, laugh loudly at night, or say confusing things. It might be scary for children, but for true Divine Era bloodline warlocks, it was not worth mentioning. The strangeness that a hero-ranked warlock could create was 100 times stronger than all the cursed items in this warehouse combined. By the way, when she lied to Adley, she told an incredible story without thinking about the consequences. She was only 12 and enjoyed playing pranks. She told her younger sister that there was a terrifying monster hidden in the underground warehouse. Adults couldn't see it, only children with pure hearts could. This monster had extremely frightening powers. It could pull people into another world, and if they got lost there, they would never come back in this lifetime. She had been caught by this monster before and almost couldn't come back. She gave this monster a shamefully scary name, Faceless Evil God, meaning a god that was unpredictable and untouchable, and loved to eat children. Could the secret weapon of the kingdom that Adley mentioned be Lord Silver Dragon? Right in here, that faceless evil god is inside. Oh my, she should have remembered her dark history when she was 12 years old. Ein had a tearless expression on her face. Oh no, this dark history is really too shameful. There's no faceless, sinister god that specifically captures ignorant girls here. It's all her nonsense and fabrication. That's it. Chapter 11:27 Yunxi walked into the ancient warehouse filled with various girlish-style clothing, toys, and jewelry, and immediately spotted the item that had been subtly calling out to him recently. Just as he perceived, this was a masterpiece that exuded a style he could only dream of achieving now. As a puppet maker who didn't even pass the entrance exam, he could only create a puppet like White Moon based on his own imagination. And the author of this work has already reached the highest level of simplicity and can create as he pleases. With a few simple features, the puppet looks like it has stick-like arms and legs, and only 3 circles for a face, 2 big ones and 1 small one. However, this minimalistic design gives people an indescribable sense of comfort, and in Yunqi's eyes, it feels as if it has its own life. Ah, it's truly a masterpiece of art. It's just like a loaf of bread. This one. Ain was dumbfounded as she looked at the puppet with an unfinished face. It was a secret weapon that could twist the course of a battle. Faceless and formless, that's quite fitting. It must be a failed craft project from some ancestor's childhood. This level of embarrassment is not inferior at all to the lie she made up when she was 12 years old. Sister, this is very scary. Adley tightly held on to Ain's hand. She loved all kinds of interesting toys in this warehouse ever since she was young and active. The reason why she later dared not come here was because the faceless god was here. Ain really didn't know what to say. It was really hard to tell her sister that this was just a made-up scary story for children. I really want to know who completed such a design. Clearly, this is not something that humans can create. Yunqi expressed sincere admiration for this faceless god. The whole artwork was woven from a single thread. Compared to his barely completed white moon, which required countless precious materials, the level of this artwork was beyond what his mediocre puppet maker skills could comprehend. Moreover, the hidden power inside this puppet was indescribable. Ain, do you know how to activate it? Once again, Yunqi asked the supposed owner of this puppet. I don't know. Ain couldn't help but wonder how Lord Silver Dragon turned this failed puppet into a secret weapon that could save the fate of the kingdom. No matter how she looked at it, whether left, right, up, down, east, or west, these were just the failed creations of one of her own ancestors. So, let me try. Following some information he sensed in the dragon egg, Yunqi reached out his hand. First, he pressed the small circles on the puppet's face that represented its eyes, but there was no response. Then, he pressed the big circle that represented its mouth, but still no response. Isn't it supposed to be here? Yunqi thought he had found the right answer, but it seemed that the activation method left by the puppet maker was not that simple after all. If it's not activated by visible means, then is it a special password activation method? He had no idea what the password to activate this puppet was. Lord Silver Dragon, be careful, this faceless god is very scary. Adley was captured by it. Adley looked terrified as she watched Yunqi touching the puppet. Captured? Ain was surprised. Could this puppet really be a problem? This part seems fine, and this part too. After touching the puppet's face, Yunqi became more serious and carefully inspected its body. This puppet is made by weaving all its body structures with just one thread, and its craftsmanship and composition are unbelievably extraordinary. Besides, it feels really great to touch, soft and fragrant, as if it carries the scent of more than one young girl. How did they achieve this? Pafu, nestled in Yunqi's chest, seemed to be exceptionally excited, constantly making its unique cry, as if reminding Yunqi of something. Yes, that's it, keep going. Here, don't miss a single place. It is a gift from the world, the most beautiful thing in the world. Use your hand to touch and feel it well, open the door to a new world. When Yunqi's fingertips touched and caressed every part of the faceless puppet's body, not missing even the tiniest detail, a hidden setting was fulfilled. Just like what Adley experienced back then. A silver curtain of light enveloped the three people in the underground warehouse, and they all disappeared together inside the warehouse. Here it comes again. Adley held on to her sister's body and didn't dare to let go. The last time, she suddenly ended up here like this, crying for a long time before going back, completely unaware of what had happened. So, this is the actual form. Yunqi looked at this world woven with countless silver threads, sensing the grandiose work of the ancient puppet maker. The external puppets are just appearances, the true essence of the power he feels is actually here, in this world woven by countless silver threads. This is the world within the faceless god, a magical creation beyond the imagination of this Sia's world. Although it looks like numerous threads, there is only one, and it is the structure that Yunshi can't reach. From small puppets the size of a hand to entire worlds, they all follow the rules of this single thread. He still has a long way to go before reaching this level. I really don't know whose masterpiece this is, it has such amazing quality. This is really. Looking at the silver world around her, Ain was speechless. So, in her family's underground warehouse, there really existed a faceless evil god, able to take children to another space. By the way, why didn't she remember? This puppet, that looks a bit strange, actually belonged to more than one owner of the Divine Era Tower. Moreover, it has been owned by every generation. In her slightly ambiguous memory, this puppet had appeared on her bedside before. Its craftsmanship was so poor compared to other puppets that she had almost forgotten its existence. It seems that when Adley was little, this puppet also appeared on her bedside. No, every generation of Divine Era Tower Masters has had this puppet by their bedside. Why did she tell that lie? The faceless god, not belonging to the scenery of this world. Is that really just her dark history? Why does she know about the faceless deity? Chapter 1128 Walking on a path woven with silver threads, Ain's expression became increasingly uneasy. In a daze, she remembered that she had also seen similar scenes, but she had always thought it was just absurd dreams from her childhood. Faceless deity. Like a silver-white road that seems to extend all the way to the end of the world, no matter how you walk, you can't reach the destination. It doesn't resemble any known world's peculiar scenery, it's just like something out of a fairy tale. Ah, yes, she has been here before, probably when she was even younger than Adley. She had also touched that puppet by the bedside, hugged it while sleeping, and then drowsily arrived in this silver-white world. Underfoot, there is an endless expanse of silver white, devoid of any impurities. Walking here feels like walking on clouds, filled with a taste completely different from reality. She has been here, and not just once. However, she has always considered this place as a dream, never realizing that it is part of reality. Lord Silver Dragon, is this place? Ain, who is no longer a child, gathered the courage to ask Yunshi, who might be the only one who knows the truth. The faceless evil god was a story she made up to scare Adley before bed, little did she know that the story would become real. This is the inside of a puppet, it's a special technique. Yunshi couldn't understand how this technique was achieved, maybe that's what makes the puppet maker special. Despite being the size of a palm, the puppet had a small world inside, a world woven with countless threads that were all connected. However, this world seemed to lack vitality, it was simply incredibly magnificent, intricate, and filled with the beauty of composition that only the puppet maker could perceive. After about 5 minutes of walking, Yunshi voluntarily stopped. Everything here was silver white. The boundary between the sky and the earth didn't exist in this world at all. Walking in this infinite silver-white world felt like moving towards an endless unknown. Ain, in the beginning, saw this world as a dream. In the first few attempts, she tried to walk here, hoping to find an end or something, but soon realized that it was an impossible task to complete. Eventually, she simply fell asleep in this silver-white world. After all, no matter which way you go, it's just a waste of time. It's better to sleep well in this soft and white world. On the other hand, Adley, who had been scared by her sister's story about the faceless evil god, cried loudly in this world. Whether sleeping in or crying, they will all leave this world at some point, just like waking up from a dream. However, Ain, who always cuddles her puppet before sleep, thought it was just a dream. Adley, who went missing in the warehouse, genuinely believed in the strangeness of the faceless evil god. Only Yunshi understood what it was from the beginning. Perhaps because he was the only puppet maker here, only a true puppet maker could understand the hidden power in this puppet. This also includes finding a way to solve the infinite maze. You are one, but also many. You are the beginning, but also the end. Yunshi bent down and searched for a while, then found a transparent thread from the seemingly identical silver-white threads. This is the string of this world, the fabric that weaves the truths of everything in the world. Yunshi had only seen this kind of fabric in the grand library of the White Lotus Sword Palace. It is said to be woven by the goddess on the loom of destiny to create the rules of the world. It is also the highest level material in the endless god's domain. With just one thread like this, a garment of the original god weapon level can be made. It is as light as silk and has a defense level equivalent to heavy armor made of mithril. It is said that the original use of this silk thread was to make underwear for female goddesses. Well, it's really just a legend. Now, Yunshi can be 100% sure that this is not a product of Sia's world. The creator god sword and sky beast would not have such a thing. Even in the endless god's domain, after the twilight of the gods' war, this fate thread, used for weaving the fabric, has almost disappeared. The only remaining legend-ranked strong being who can still produce this fate thread is the Fate 3 goddesses whom Yunshi once encountered in the Starry Sky chess game in the Endless God's domain. Old, Violet, Cindy, known as the Fates of Norlan, were 3 goddesses of destiny. Their special weapon was the fate-weaving machine that could shape destinies. According to hearsay, most of the underwear worn by legendary female gods was handmade by the 3 of them. In terms of the preciousness of the materials used, this puppet had an extraordinary value that cannot be overstated. In the entire world of Sia, there probably couldn't be a puppet more valuable than this. Follow the line. After spotting the transparent thread mixed among millions of silver threads, Yunshi pulled it out from the path. It seemed to be the enigmatic clue left by the puppet maker who created this puppet, only to be discovered by those with extraordinary intuition and sensitivity. It had been here all along, like a marker, waiting to be found by someone. I didn't find it, nor did Adley, or any of the previous owners of this puppet, until Yunshi arrived here. With a clear landmark, the next steps became much simpler. The never-ending path is actually just the thread looping around. The seemingly unchanging ground is actually constantly changing. If it weren't for seeing the thread in their hands constantly changing direction, Yunshi probably wouldn't be able to see the true face of this world. Essentially, this is a never-ending, non-repeating maze made of threads, with countless possible answers. For those who don't understand the key, it would take 1,000 years, 10,000 years, and they still wouldn't be able to find a way out. But once they find the correct answer, everything becomes clear. Holding the strings of the world in his hand, Yunshi, along with Ain and Adley, walked to the center of the maze. In truth, this maze isn't very big, it's just the infinite changing directions and positions that make it impossible to see its true form. Just like how ants can never understand the concept of three-dimensional space, those who can't find the strings of the world will never see the center of the maze. Deity without a face. Yunshi looked up and saw the object sleeping in the center of the maze. It was the first time he truly felt that Ain's description was so fitting. Within the enormous silver screen, there stood a giant silver figure without a face, woven from countless threads. Faceless and featureless. Heartless and soulless. Blank puppet. Chapter 1129. This is the faceless deity. Yunshi stopped in his tracks, standing in front of this giant puppet that had no features. As for its height, if we were to compare it to a normal human proportion, it would be about 20 times larger, approximately 40 meters tall. The body structure is elegant and streamlined like the puppet on the outside, but it is not frail. Its entire body is woven from a single thread, creating a perfect form. On that silvery body, there are robes with a faint sacred glow, just like the countless threads around it, all crafted from that first thread. The hem of the robe and the part covering the chest extend with patterns resembling wings, as beautiful and pure as an angel. Just standing in front of this gigantic silver figure, you could feel the extraordinary sense of civilization that transcended time. It was not a creature formed naturally, but a vessel created for a specific purpose. It had no facial features because it had not formed its own concept yet, like a blank piece of paper. This was something prepared for the gods, and Yunshi could sense that the moment he laid eyes on it. No hero of this world, no matter how powerful, could possibly use this vessel. Made from threads woven by the three fate goddesses of the endless gods' domain and crafted by the most skillful puppet maker, the final result was this faceless deity. A blank canvas, yet filled with infinite possibilities. That featureless face was waiting for someone to paint their own colors and contours upon it. That person needed to have a pure and flawless mind in order to be recognized and invited into the limitless white maze after touching the puppet marked as a symbol. At the same time, you need to have sharp observation skills and natural talent to find the only fate string that leads to the center of the maze among countless threads. Lastly, you need to have a spirit power beyond that of a hero-ranked individual to awaken the sleeping silver giant, granting it a true name and power. Ein and Adley completed the first step, which many tower warlocks of the ancient divine era have also taken, but they never had the chance to see the true face of the faceless god. Yunshi took the second step, leading Ein and Adley to the faceless god located in the center of the maze, but they couldn't proceed any further. Because the third step is a condition that even the present him cannot fulfill. The silver giant, who mysteriously exists within the puppet, is referred to by Ein as an entity of the faceless god, which is not meant for hero-ranked individuals at all. Even with Yunshi's spirit power surpassing that of a normal hero-ranked individual by several times, he couldn't even approach the vicinity of the silver giant. An invisible barrier, completely refusing any contact, serves as the final fortress for this silver giant. This barrier clearly tells anyone who has reached this point that even if you have exceptional talent and unparalleled wisdom, as long as you haven't stepped into the legend ranked, you are not qualified to receive recognition from the faceless god. This world, this maze, were both born for a distant future, a possibility. It doesn't intend to accept any unqualified candidates. This is probably something from your ancestors. Yunshi carefully observed the patterns and style of the silvery white feathered cloak, which didn't resemble the civilization of Sia's world. That transcended sacred aura, that core protected by power beyond the limits of hero ranked, all exceeded the standards of Sia's world. Just like the suddenly appearing tower, it clearly didn't belong to the civilization process of Sia's world. Upon careful reflection, this divine era tower itself is extraordinary. The power of resistance against the erosion of time alone cannot be explained by Divine Era's magic technology. If Divine Era had such technology, the group of red-robed magician corps would not have desperately fled into the underground cemetery. Did our ancestors have such powerful technology? Ein looked at the silver giant in the unmistakable style of the female garment with an expression of disbelief. Whoever sees this giant for the first time can feel the overwhelming power it possesses. He was 40 meters tall with a beautiful feather cloak. If the people of the Divine Era had such a weapon, it would definitely not go unnoticed. This is truly their family's secret weapon. Why does their queen not even know of its existence? Pafu, for some reason, the Pafu hidden inside Yunshi's dragon gem in his chest kept calling out, and eventually it jumped out of his chest completely. Ah, what a cute little creature. Adley discovered this magical little treasure and exclaimed with joy. And so, Pafu faced the treatment of being pinched and squeezed by the young girl. Pafu, what have you found? As a puppet maker who was not well known, Yunshi was completely amazed by the construction of this silver giant. It was a level of technology he could not even dare to imagine. Indeed, this must be a master among puppet makers. Pafu, who had just escaped from Adley's small hand, bravely rushed towards the invisible barrier, emitting a bright green light. Yunshi himself doesn't possess the mental strength of the legend ranked, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have it within him. Don't forget, Yunshi has 1/5 of his flesh and blood from his ex-girlfriend, a spirit-level curse from the creator god, and Mumu Narabel, the star-hunting dragon's flesh and blood. These flesh and blood even influenced Yunshi's ability to summon the star wings and release the seeds of life, but they are not a burden. By merging with this flesh and blood, the magical creature called Pafu, capable of living inside a dragon gem, displayed the power of Mumu Narabel's flesh and blood. It threw itself at the invisible barrier without hesitation. For Pafu, who has a very simple overall structure, the barrier that even Yunshi himself couldn't overcome was tough, but definitely not indestructible. Slime is a type of creature with a very simple body structure. It is so weak that it doesn't fear the pressure from any powerful beings. Even the breath left by gods is the same. However, Yunshi himself, with only 1/5 of the flesh of star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel, cannot do the same as Pafu because of his weak body. If he were to collide with it, he would likely be shaken to death by the automatic counterattack from the invisible barrier. Again and again, with each collision, Pafu achieves visible results, gradually breaking through the barrier that protects the faceless god. Gudong. Sound effect. After hundreds of collisions, Pafu's round body suddenly crosses a certain boundary and rolls uncontrollably under the silver giant's feet. Chapter 1130 Restraint. Yunshi doesn't believe that Pafu really has the power to break through this invisible barrier. From his perspective, this invisible barrier is definitely of the highest level. Even if Ain really knows that ultimate nuclear explosion forbidden spell, she probably can't break this barrier. But after being contaminated by the blood and flesh of the star-hunting dragon, Mumu Narabel, and hatching from the dragon egg together with Yunshi, Pafu seems to naturally counteract this barrier. Like counteracting one thing with another, this barrier probably never expected that there are such magical creatures like Pafu in this world. Despite being very small and weak, it can accomplish incredible tasks. Pafu, who successfully broke the barrier, tried his best to climb the gigantic body of the faceless god with its round and chubby body. It's hard to believe that this creature can break a barrier of the highest level. After approximately 15 minutes, Pafu finally found the entrance to the faceless god. It happened to be located on its chest. Click. Pafu disappeared into the chest of the faceless god. After about another minute, the body of the faceless god began to tremble slightly, causing the threads that make up the entire world to tremble along with it. Boz. Ain and Adley looked surprised as the faceless god stood up and skillfully assumed a defensive position, holding his head. This is someone he knows, Pafu. Yunshi looked at the faceless god, who appeared confused and motionless, even though he had gained the power of the star-hunting dragon, Mumu Narabel. Pafu was still just a little guy who didn't know how to do anything. As for slimes, this is still a young slime, but Yunshi didn't know what kind of slime Pafu was. It was really fate for Pafu to escape together with him from the pursuit of his 4 ex-girlfriends from before the creation of the world. With Pafu's invasion, the barrier of the faceless god disappeared. Although Pafu was still far from meeting the requirements of the faceless god, the fleshly aura emanating from Pafu was too powerful to resist. It was a curse that Lord Silver Dragon, Supreme Dragon God Asha, personally inflicted upon Starchild in the Northern God's domain. Something that Yunshi couldn't escape from even if he wanted to. Lord Silver Dragon, can we use this weapon? Ain and Adley clearly didn't understand the true nature of the faceless god standing before them. In Ain's eyes, this was a treasure left by their ancestors, and if it needed to be used, it should be used. In Adley's eyes, this is a very scary faceless god, but Lord Silver Dragon will definitely have a solution. Yunshi, the only one who knows the truth, couldn't explain this phenomenon either. It was his first time realizing how useful Pafu can be. Pafu, as Yunshi approached, Pafu jumped out from the chest of the faceless god, eagerly summoning Yunshi. "Wait for me, I'll give it a try," Yunshi said, unsure if he could really control this silver giant called the faceless god. No matter how you look at it, this doesn't seem like an armor intended for males. The gorgeous feathers and lines, as well as the outline of the chest, clearly lean towards a feminine style. Perhaps, there are some secrets about the origin of this world involved in all of this. With these doubts in mind, Yunshi walked towards the entrance Pafu had opened and stepped inside. Yunshi was instantly enveloped by a liquid as he passed through a transparent curtain of light. Why is there so much water here? Instinctively, Yunshi covered his mouth, trying to resist the unexpected liquid. Unfortunately, it was too late. The silver liquid quickly engulfed Yunshi's entire body, and a massive flow of information began to wash over his consciousness. It was about the procedures for manipulating this faceless god, a skill that only creatures who have reached the rank of legend can master. In reality, Yunshi didn't even meet the minimum requirements to become the owner of the faceless god. Just like he perceived it, this was not something intended for hero-ranked humans. The faceless god is a gift prepared for the gods. Faceless and formless. Without a heart and without a soul. Like a blank piece of white paper, pure and pristine. It carries the spirit of the gods, a vessel prepared for the gods. It is a treasure that exists to resurrect a certain creator god for a distant future. Long time no see. Are you alright? When I found you, you were already broken. I feel really guilty for involving you in this. It will probably be a very long time before you can meet Sue again. Your soul will surely encounter this puppet no matter how many times you are reborn. When you spread your wings and fly again, please wear this feather coat. Our promise still stands. To Sia, the puppet maker who once traveled with you. Ahem. Yunshi spat out a silvery liquid, feeling dizzy and disoriented. If it wasn't for Mumu Narabel, the star-hunting dragon who shared a fifth of his flesh and blood, this information overload would have turned his brain into mush. However, Yunshi finally figured out how this faceless god, the mysterious puppet maker, came to be. Long, long ago, the spirit of the creator god in this world once traveled with a certain puppet maker and got caught up in a war. During the war, they got separated. By the time the puppet maker found Sia again, her body was completely shattered, and it would take an extremely long time to heal and restore her, thanks to Sue. This faceless god is the gift prepared by the puppet maker for Sia's eventual resurrection in the distant future. It is a treasure, capable of containing the soul of a deity, flawless in every way, specifically prepared for Sia. Only females with Sia's bloodline can enter the inner part of this container, being observed, recorded, and calculated to determine how many generations of Sia are still needed for her resurrection. Well, based on the information Yunshi obtained from the data stream, it would probably take hundreds of generations before a Sia bloodline with even a slight qualification to contact the faceless god can be born. However, the data ended up completely scrambled, which is also the reason why Yunshi nearly had a mental breakdown. Certain information that doesn't belong to Sia's world forcefully infiltrated and achieved great accomplishments. The one responsible for this outcome is none other than Yunshi's slime pet, Pafu. Despite being incredibly weak, even Adley can easily bully Pafu, but Pafu possesses a surprising erosion ability, accomplishing things that even Yunshi himself couldn't do. For it, disguising, imitating, and absorbing seem like instinctual things. So, the gift that was originally prepared by a puppet maker for the resurrected Sia in the distant future has now been discovered by Pafu. Chapter 1131 The power from star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel in Pafu's body was like the arch-nemesis of this puppet maker. Not only could it easily break through the barriers of the legend ranked, but it also invaded the internal system of the faceless god like a raging storm. However, there were obvious side effects. Because of Pafu's intrusion, the internal system of the faceless god started to have numerous logical errors, eventually leading to a complete system breakdown. The information flow that Yunshi received was weakened to a level he could handle. Otherwise, if he were washed by information from the legend ranked, his head might explode. Pafu, on the other hand, didn't have to worry about this problem since it didn't possess many thinking circuits. Slimes are a species that is so foolish they won't even dodge when being stepped on by a dragon, except for Shay Alongness the Sky Sword. There are hardly any slimes that have self-awareness and intelligence. It is precisely because of this simple structure and the tenacious vitality that allows them to survive even by eating dirt. Slime populations are everywhere, from the northern dragon god's domain to the southern abyss god's domain. There are so many slimes that when most rookie adventurers in the endless god's domain undergo their first trial, they consider slimes as beginner monsters to fight. This is bad. After learning about what Pafu had done, Yunshi had a troubled expression on his face. Pafu's intrusion did give Yunshi the qualification to use the secret weapon known as the Faceless God, but it also completely broke down the previously functioning internal system of the Faceless God. The current Faceless God is like an ignorant young girl whose mind has been shattered by countless slimes, leaving her consciousness completely blank. The perfect neural structure that was originally built inside the Faceless God completely collapsed when the system that Yunshi never used before crashed, and it could never be restored to its original state. This also means that Yunshi must start from scratch to create a set of instructions for operating the Faceless God and weave a brand new efficient system. This difficulty is not any less challenging than breaking through the legend-ranked barrier in Pafu or infiltrating the inside of the Faceless God. It is safe to say that it is an impossible task to complete. Yunshi, sweating profusely, looked at the Faceless God core where all the silver liquid had disappeared, realizing that both he and Pafu may have gotten themselves into a huge mess. The initial control method inside Yunshi's body was the silver liquid, which had a complexity level that Yunshi could not even imagine, serving as the carrier for the original workings of the Faceless God. The puppet maker who created this puppet is an absolute master among masters, and the system he designed was specifically prepared for this puppet's future owner, Sia. Once fused with the silver liquid and combined with the mental power of the legend ranked, the Faceless God could instantly unleash terrifying power, even capable of tearing through the sky of this world. The problem now is that this system completely crashed due to Pafu's forced infiltration. The whole system is now ruined. What is left for Yunshi is a completely blank puppet with all skills and accompanying abilities reset to 0. According to what Yunshi knows about the science of God's domain, this machine is already equipped with control programs and a neural connection system. It's just waiting for a pilot to press the start button and become a perfect weapon that can soar across the sky. Now, everything has been reset, and even the simplest systems no longer exist on this blank machine body. All the weapon systems prepared for the gods have disappeared. Everything else, except for this empty body and the attached feathers, has vanished. It's a disappearance on a rule level that cannot be salvaged. Unless Yunshi has the same ability as the legendary puppet maker to create a system capable of carrying the soul of a god for this blank faceless god. Impossible. I'm just a nobody. Yunshi holds his head, almost mimicking Pafu's posture when she took over the faceless god earlier. This is truly impossible. He's just a nobody puppet maker. How could he compare to the legend-ranked puppet maker? The task of carrying the soul of a god in a vessel is something he, a rookie, could never accomplish in his lifetime. No wonder the movements of the faceless god controlled by Pafu were so strange. It was just random chaos. How can we deal with that huge black iron giant? if we can't use the secret weapon? Should we let it punch with its fists? Yunshi said that in all the courses he studied since he was little, there was never a method to deal with a 50-meter giant. Even teacher Cassina the battle god didn't teach that. Lord Silver Dragon, are you okay now? Wow, this faceless and featureless puppet is really big. When Yunshi was feeling extremely discouraged, the voices of Ain and Adley came from outside. He had been receiving the flow of information for more than 30 minutes, so it's no wonder they were worried. I'm fine, said Yunshi as he let go of the hand that was holding his head. At this point, there's no other way, even if we have to go forward with a brave face. It's impossible to compete with the legendary puppet maker's weaving abilities in this lifetime. Luckily, his enemy isn't anyone of the legend ranked. In this world, other than creator gods Sword Sia and Leviathan the Sky Beast, it should be impossible for someone to truly reach the legend ranked. Even though that 50-meter giant has immense power, it is still infinitely distant from the legend ranked, relying solely on brute strength. Truly legendary beings, such as Ouroboros, a fantasy species, possess the ability to entangle the stars. Yes, there's nothing to fear. If you can't overcome these small difficulties, how would you face those 4 terrifying ex-girlfriends? As long as Yunshi thinks about the opponents he'll have to face in the future and the curses currently afflicting him, he quickly realizes that this 50-meter black iron giant is nothing at all. The enemies he has provoked are already at a level as high as the heavens. Any of his ex-girlfriends could easily crush a whole group with just a finger. Why do I have such terrifying ex-girlfriends? Did I commit such heinous sins in my previous life? Sob Yunshi grits his teeth, tears streaming down his face, as he desperately tries to decipher the message left behind by the legend-ranked puppet maker. Although there is too much scrambled code to reconstruct it completely, having something to refer to is still good. No. Soon, Yunshi gave up. The system that could carry the souls of legendary gods was too advanced for him to understand. At this moment, he desperately needed a guidebook like a programming method for even monkeys, but unfortunately, there was none in Sia's world. Chapter 1132 There was no choice but to tough it out, even if it meant moving forward with great difficulty. Luckily, although the faceless god system was completely destroyed by Pafu, this also lifted the restriction that only a god's soul could match the god's vessel. Pafu's power was truly miraculous. For Yunshi, losing a weapon system specifically designed for gods wasn't a big deal since there were only 2 beings in the entire Sia's world who had reached that level. Weapons that can't be used, no matter how powerful they may be, are just decorations. However, how exactly does one program a system that can manipulate a body like that of a god? At this moment, Yunshi really wanted to go to Cyber Elf Alpha's mechanical god's domain for a few years of further study. The electronic deity and her team of quantum computer incarnations are the experts in this field. Calm down, you can definitely do it. Yunshi took a deep breath, and then closed his eyes. Imagine yourself at your strongest, capable of anything. In the ocean of longing, gradually emerged a cat that cannot be observed by anyone, existing yet non-existent, somewhere between reality and fantasy. I like cats, Yunshi spoke the secret code, as if unlocking a gateway to an endless sea of data. Activate the Yunhai's Quadrant Sword. That is the divine sword skill left behind by Yunhai the Sky Sword, a key to accessing the endless ocean of wisdom in human form. The Yunhai's Quadrant Sword is a divine sword skill that uses calculation and wisdom to describe the principles of the universe. For Yunshi, this is the starter for another divine sword skill called the Sky Flying Sword. Even though he can't temporarily use the star wings, Yunhai's Quadrant Sword is not an attachment of the star wings, but a divine sword skill that he himself comprehended. Although his method of learning Yunhai's Quadrant Sword is very peculiar, while others start with geometric principles and 9-chapter arithmetic. He started with cats. It seems that he has an inexplicable connection with the ghost cat that both exists and doesn't exist, driving countless mathematicians crazy. However, Yunhai's quadrant sword is not all-powerful. At least it cannot create a system powerful enough to drive the faceless god out of thin air. Yunshi doesn't expect to reach that level in one step. He simply needs an opportunity, a direction, to validate one of his hypotheses. The origin of this hypothesis comes from the strange actions of the faceless god that he and Adley just witnessed. Yes, it's the posture of the silver giant, who was huddling and defending itself when Pafu entered. Why did it make that move when its internal systems of the faceless god had completely collapsed and turned blank? What caused it to make that movement? What Yunshi wanted to know was exactly this answer. He had a feeling that if he found this answer, he would be able to solve his most important problem. Suddenly, a bright idea flashed. Found it. It was as if Miss Graceful Ghost Cat gently tapped Yunshi's forehead with her soft paw, unlocking a never-ending flow of inspiration. Yes, just like that. Pafu was the key to success or failure, and in the end, Pafu was the one who solved the problem. Pafu, be obedient, okay. Yunshi grabbed Pafu, who was fluffy and bounced like a QQ ball, and firmly pressed it into the hollow center of the silver giant's core. Since Pafu's invasion caused the internal system of the faceless god to completely collapse, it meant that it also had an influence on the abilities of the faceless god. The action of crouching with a head and arms just now was performed by Pafu. In other words, Pafu partially replaced the original system of the faceless god and synchronized with this giant silver figure. So, through Pafu's words, we might be able to create a system that can control the faceless god. This is almost the only lifeline Yunshi has left. Pafu split. As Pafu's owner, this was the first time Yunshi gave a forced command to his little pet. Pafu. Pafu didn't resist at all and effortlessly split into numerous small clones, resembling grains of fruit, bouncing around inside the faceless god. Yes, that's it. Although it felt a bit awkward and couldn't compare to the original neural system of the faceless god, made with precise intertwining of every single thread, Yunshi finally saw a glimmer of light. Pafu can accomplish this task. Perhaps with some flaws, but it's enough to make this faceless god move. Pafu, connect. As Meyer, the owner of Pafu, helped sign a contract, Yunshi and his pet gained the ability to communicate telepathically. However, Pafu's consciousness is quite simple, so even when they synchronize, it doesn't have much meaning. This is delicious. Pafu. This is soft. Pafu. This smells good. Pafu. This goes QQ. Pafu. These are the messages Yunshi receives when he connects with Pafu. Most of the time, this little creature uses its adorable appearance to snuggle into the chests of girls, big or small. It seems to be its race's characteristic. Things have changed now. After going through the 4 previous girlfriends with Yunshi and gaining the power of the star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel, Pafu has transformed and become an even more magical creature. The small and big clones that split up quickly spread throughout the body of the faceless god, and then they acted as a substitute system, causing the god's vessel to move again. The Pafu system has its own advantages, although it can't compare to the original divine system. Because Pafu is a pet connected to Yunshi's soul, when their consciousness is connected, Yunshi can control Pafu's body and do anything. The thing called the Pafu system is Yunshi using his imagination and initiative to turn his own pet into a temporary control system for the faceless god, thus gaining control over the silver giant. Without a divine-level soul, they had to make do with using Pafu. It's moving. Brother. Adley cheered as she watched the faceless god finally stand up. Lord Silver Dragon truly lives up to their name. Yun Xian had blind confidence in Yun Shi, and he didn't disappoint. Only Yun Shi himself knew that he was completely pushing himself beyond his limits, but he had to make it work. The existence of the Pafu system gave him temporary control over the faceless god, but compared to the original system, it was like a simple puppetry technique. There were no weapons or additional parts that could be activated, except for the container itself. Those things were clearly inside the body of the faceless god, and the feather robe on the outside was one of the components of the weapon system. These are gifts left by the unknown puppet maker for his friend Sia. Chapter 1133 Check, Start. With the presence of the Pafu system, even though Yun Shi had never used a warfare weapon like the faceless god before, he began to learn how to use the giant's silver body. First, the center of gravity. After swaying and struggling to stand up for about 10 minutes, Yun Shi finally managed to grasp the basics of not falling on flat ground. Among them, he fell down about 15 times in a row, making Yun Shi wonder if he had paralysis. No way, controlling the silver giant through the Pafu system has delays. After all, it is not the original perfect system of this faceless god. However, as adaptability increases, Yun Shi gradually learns how to use the essential techniques of this huge body. The presence of Pafu goes even deeper into the silver giant's body than he imagined, with the flesh and blood scent of star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel, as if it effortlessly infiltrates every corner of this blank puppet, like the natural enemy of the puppet. Because of this, Yun Shi has a remarkable admiration for the legendary puppet maker who created this puppet for his friend, as he understands the construction of this faceless god and the complexity of the puppet maker's methods. This is also a perfect body that has achieved the unity of strength and flexibility, possessing both indestructible rigidness and the softness of a soft body. The puppet maker who created the faceless god puppet obviously has an extraordinary understanding of this type of body, constructing it with a world string in a way that is currently beyond Yun Shi's comprehension. If it weren't for the magical presence of Pafu, it would be impossible for him to create a system that can control this silver giant. Pafu, alongside Yun Shi, they happily controlled the silver giant Pafu, raising its middle finger playfully. "Don't be silly, Pafu. I'll get distracted," Yun Shi said with a mix of laughter and tears as he watched Pafu enjoying themselves. After connecting with Pafu spiritually, the biggest issue was Pafu's uncontrollable instinct to keep moving without stopping. Starting with a motion of covering their head, then shaking their finger, these amateur actions might be considered exercise, but in a real battle, it would be a disaster. Pafu, feeling somewhat upset from being scolded by Yun Shi, once again assumed the position of covering their head, as if they had experienced an immense blow. "This is really challenging to let go of," Yun Shi shook his head, focusing even more on controlling the silver giant. Even with the presence of the Pafu system, mastering this silver giant was still not a simple task. The simplest delay issue is a big problem when it spreads to the huge body of the silver giant. In battles at the hero rank level, even a delay of just 1/100th of a second can determine the outcome of the battle, and even a momentary delay can lead to irreparable results. There is no perfect solution to this problem, so the only way to deal with it is to practice getting used to this delay and give instructions in advance. In other words, before the battle, you have to input instructions to the Pafu system in advance, and only then can the silver giant move. This requires a high level of calculation, but fortunately, Yun Shi has the foundation of Yun Hai's quadrant sword. After practicing for over 3 hours, he can finally enter the battle state with some effort. If possible, Yun Shi would like to practice for more time. Even if he can't fully unleash his power, he needs to at least reach a passing grade of about 60%. Unfortunately, reality doesn't have that much leeway. Because dawn has arrived, and the Sia Kingdom must go to battle to intercept the oncoming Black Iron Giant. This battle will determine the fate of many people and even change the entire continent situation. Representatives from various major factions gathered at the entrance of Sia Royal City early in the morning, all looking at the enormous creature that had appeared outside the city with shocked expressions. The faceless silver giant made its first appearance on the continent stage. Originally, it shouldn't have awakened in this era when Su awakened. Its active stage should have been in the future, thousands of years later. But now, after 100 generations of Sia Kingdom's bloodline, when the bloodline of the legendary god awakens in this bloodline. However, in order to resist the unexpected black iron giant, Yunshi, who is now inside the core of the silver giant, can only face it head-on. The trial of the stars seemed like an impossible task, but there would always be a glimmer of hope. Among the elements that Yunshi could find, the faceless god left behind by the legendary puppet maker is probably the only trump card that can resist the black iron giant in Sia Kingdom. Since he borrowed the identity of the prince of this country, he must take up the responsibility properly. The radiant silver giant, with a body even taller than the walls of the capital, would leave anyone who saw this enormous creature for the first time feeling deeply shocked. It was a miraculous creation that went beyond human imagination. Whether it was the beautiful feathers or the sleek body, it didn't seem like something from this era. Could this be what is hidden in the Divine Era Tower? The Sia royal family. They actually have such ancient weaponry. What kind of power source does that body need to move? This is not scientifically possible. Scholars from the Leviathan Empire gazed at the silver giant with excitement, wishing to study every inch of its body. As expected. I knew the kingdom had an ace up its sleeve. No wonder the queen is so composed. We also have a giant now. Charge! Our giant, defeat that black monster. The people of the kingdom cheered and got excited, believing that Nuclear Blast Queen would protect them. Giants are monsters if they are enemies, but they are great if they are weapons on our side. Many young people's hearts beat faster when they saw this silver giant, imagining themselves being able to control such a legendary weapon. The Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order also emerged from the Divine Era Tower for the first time in this world, organized as a knight group. They will serve as Yunshi's support team and participate in the giant battle that is destined to be recorded in the history of the continent. Ready, Pafu. In the silver core, Yunshi extended his hands, and there were circular jelly-like devices with green gemstones on the back of his hands, chest, and waist, which were Pafu's avatars. Thousands of these avatars are distributed inside the silver giant, breathing and pulsating together. This is Yunshi's exclusive Pafu system, designed specifically for the faceless god. Pafu, today's Pafu is also full of energy. Chapter 1134. On the third day after the Sky Tower appeared, the battle between the underground cemetery and the human kingdom entered a fierce stage. The Leviathan Empire sighed. The extremely angry Ludwig XII gathered all the titled machines of the Empire and launched a total attack on the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast, which occupied the central waters of the Empire. More than 20 knight orders, including developing siege weapons such as heavy cannons, all joined the actual combat, with over 30,000 troops and over 100,000 logistic support personnel. It can be said that this is the Leviathan Empire's challenge to the underground cemetery with the full strength of the country, which is the honor of the first powerful country on the continent. The battle entered a state of intense artillery fire from dawn. The newly formed Magic Artillery Brigade almost blew up the waterway occupied by the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast, and then the Empire's titled machines surrounded the appearing Emerald Sea Dragon Beast from 3 directions: land, water, and air. The Emerald Sea Dragon Beast unleashed a fierce battle against the incoming group of titled machines, releasing more than 4-digit small-scale automatic attacks. The battle was extremely fierce and can be regarded as the most devastating battle since the formation of the Leviathan Empire's Magic Armored Legion. On the same day, a giant with a silver-white color called Faceless God also stepped onto the battlefield. The newly formed Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order appeared before the world for the first time. Giant, stay in the center of the nuclear explosion. Attention, attention. The giant has cast some kind of earth spell, creating a huge unknown structure. Observation is impossible, the enemy has blocked the center of the nuclear explosion. Oh no, this is probably some kind of tactic. The giant is performing some unknown action in the center of the nuclear explosion. From the moment Yunshi piloted the silver giant and set off, a series of bad news started coming in. Why would that giant be interested in that place? Yunshi remembered when he crashed, he even broke through the Earth's crust. Being mistaken for the central location of the nuclear explosion area, it is currently in a very unstable state, capable of forming a new volcano. Why did that black iron giant choose to stay in this area? Could it be that there is really some special strategy? No matter what, we'll know soon enough. Yunshi closed his eyes and started to pick up the pace. Boom! 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 The ground trembled as Yunshi, who had become accustomed to the Pafu system, began to run. He was faster and lighter than any creature on the ground. The flawless body of the faceless god, the highest level war weapon in this world, even if all weapon systems disappeared. With such a war weapon, Yunshi was confident in defeating the giant made of black iron. In this battle, the newly formed Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order couldn't intervene yet. This was a war between ancient weapons, a battlefield for giants. Even Yunshi, with the human body shape, was at a huge disadvantage when facing opponents like the black iron giant. There is a very obvious difference in size and race below the legend ranked, and the difference in racial value is fully reflected at this level. Just like how humans can easily crush ants, unless they have the advantage of a god weapon, humans can never defeat a dragon of the same rank. Let me solve this problem. Running through the forest, past the abandoned village where no one sought shelter, shortly after the sun had risen above the horizon, Yunshi saw the place where he had once fallen. A huge circular basin, with rocks and gravel melted by intense heat, and a massive black object that appeared incredibly abrupt in the center of the basin. It looked like a square black stone, completely blocking any possibility of observation and having an effect of external magical insulation, making it a fortress even stronger than the capital's barrier. Even Yunshi could not penetrate the shell of the black object, unable to see what was inside this gigantic black entity. The only certainty was that the black iron giant was inside, at the center of where the star had fallen. It looks like we can only break through forcefully. Yunshi took a deep breath, feeling a sense of unease, as if the black iron giant's presence was at its peak. If the opponent's fighting power gets stronger, how can we continue this battle? Pafu, for some reason, Pafu also entered an extremely excited state, which in turn increased the activity of the faceless god's body. Prepare. Pafu, activate battle mode. Faced with an unknown opponent who was bigger than himself, Yunshi went all out from the very beginning, no matter how cautious. Tisk. A large amount of steam was emitted from the silver giant's body, as Pafu cooperatively raised its body temperature, giving the once icy cold body of the faceless god more vitality. The Pafu system has two modes, the regular automatic mode and the battle mode that unleashes all fighting power. In the automatic mode, Yunshi can run and move, with the consumption balanced on a stable line, theoretically allowing continuous movement for a long time. Comparatively, the battle mode can only last for a much shorter time because Yunshi doesn't possess the soul of the legend ranked, and the Pafu system also has its limits. Barely controlling the faceless god, Yunshi can only fight at full strength for 5 minutes, which is the current limit of the Pafu system. If the time goes beyond this, all the clones spawned by Pafu will perish, and Pafu itself will have to enter a dormant mode to regain strength. 5 minutes. In terms of a one-on-one victory, it's already enough. Yunshi crouched down, assuming a charging posture, locking onto the silent black block. Charge! With a burst of speed surpassing the sound barrier, combined with the massive mass and impact force of the faceless god, the silver giant struck the outer shell of the black object like a siege hammer. Crack! The barrier, created by the Earth Child's power, a black stone structure 10 times harder than the toughest granite, was forcefully shattered. Boom! With an unstoppable momentum, Yunshi continuously shattered the multi-layered barriers comprising the black object, progressing all the way to the crust where he had once fallen. Target, locked on. Black Iron Giant, detected. At this moment, the cracked earth's crushed. The dark red magma gathered into lakes, and the scorching magma bubbles burst from time to time. A 50-meter black iron giant was lying in the magma pool, looking at the black sky illuminated by the fire with hazy eyes. Ah, so comfortable, taking a magma bath is the best. The magma here has the taste of stars. Chapter 1135 Princess Past comfortably stretched her body, her snow-white feet stepping on the terrifying high-temperature magma bubbles, making crisp popping sounds. The huge black iron giant also made the same movements, perfectly synchronized with Princess Past. The princess's original human body had long turned to ashes in the past catastrophe, and now exists as the sole center of the black iron giant. Not only her, but the human bodies of other guardians have long returned to dust, except for the unfinished sixth-layer guardian witch and the corpses. As the guardians of the underground cemetery, they are all deceased. However, this doesn't prevent them from having different hobbies. The black iron giant, who possesses the earth element, is naturally close to the earth's veins. Its body is able to swim completely in lava, or rather, only by soaking in magma can the giant's cold corpse still retain some warmth. Similarly, as the core of the black iron giant, the past princess can only feel her own existence when she takes a bath with the giant in the magma. That scorching temperature is really fantastic. Other guardians also have their own similar things they like. The war dancer who rides the emerald sea dragon beast enjoys diving in the ocean, plunging all the way to the deepest part of the sea where even light cannot reach, getting close to the eternal coldness of the deep abyss. The owner of the opera house Phantom, Enchanting songstress, still loves singing, and she always loves to sing for others no matter when. The rider of the Rift Space Dragon, the Knight of Kingdom's Shield, dislikes staying on the ground. Her favorite is to soar and dance in the high skies. Twins, unknown hobbies. Witch never awakened. With all her defenses stripped away, she finally found a lava lake with such a delicious taste that past princess couldn't control herself. Well, crushing this kingdom is about as difficult as taking a post-dinner stroll, so let's let the kingdom survive a little longer, maybe half a day or so. She had even decided that after conquering this country on behalf of the underground cemetery, she would claim this lava lake with its rare properties as her own territory. The churning magma here had an intoxicating aroma, better quality than any lava pool past princess had ever soaked in before. It was simply amazing. In order to fully enjoy this bath, she spared no effort in creating a wall of black stone using the power of the strongest giant bloodline, strategic magic of the underground cemetery. During the Divine Era War, this strategic magic had saved countless human armies. Even the dragon clan couldn't break through it easily. With this absolute defense in place, past princess comfortably emerged from within the black iron giant, indulging in a royal-level soak in a somewhat fragile state of existence. All the guardians are deceased. In theory, when they die, they become refined soul cores, and their true form is similar to a ball of light. However, perhaps due to the deep memories of their living souls, when they appear in their true form, they all look like how they were when they were alive. Past princesses didn't reach adulthood when they died, and they cannot grow any further after death. Development and aging are privileges of living beings. The guardians in the underground cemetery remain frozen in the moment of their death. Past princesses appearing in their true form are just young girls around 12 years old. They wear long white stockings and their facial features resemble oddly, but they have long hair that most girls their age wouldn't have. That golden hair is partially tied into golden bunches on both sides and the rest is intricately woven into a golden braid. It's evident that the young princess loved her hair during her life and she couldn't forget it even in death, keeping it preserved exactly as it was. The black princess dress, paired with white stockings, gives off a sweet and forbidden aura. No one will come here, so I can take a nice bath. Past princess, who has great confidence in the black stone wall, gracefully removes her stockings and black boots, revealing her snow-white legs and tender and soft little feet like a baby rabbit. Next, the princess's dress fell to one side, leaving her young and sweet-smelling body exposed, with only the crystal hair accessory on her head, and her long golden hair covering the important parts. This temperature is amazing. Standing on the constantly boiling magma bubbles, listening to the sound of the bubbles bursting, the little princess had a blissful expression on her face. Only like this could she feel alive, the golden red bubbles spreading from under her feet, massaging her body and releasing a warm and pleasant scent. In the icy world, only in this magma world could she feel the warmth of being alive. The black iron giant and the past princess sat together by the shore, dipping their feet into the lava lake, then slowly sliding their bodies into the bubbling lava for a bath. Little white rabbit, so white, with 2 adorable ears. Little white rabbit, so white, with 4 legs, run quickly. Humming an unfamiliar nursery rhyme, the past princess wholeheartedly enjoyed this long-awaited rest time for millions of years. For giants, life is very long, so long that it becomes boring without something to play with. They were born in the wreckage of Leviathan, skilled at playing with the sky, the earth, and the air. They fought several times, even causing the continents to split and drift. Eventually, the dragons at that time couldn't tolerate them anymore and took action to get rid of these chaotic individuals. Taking a lava bath is an ancient tradition of the giant race, symbolizing the Earth Child's characteristics. All giants are the favored descendants of the Earth. For the past princess, one of the few moments of happiness she had left after her death was to put aside everything and take a bath with the giants, revealing her true form. Well, another moment of happiness is when she tears apart the dragons. Because of this, she didn't fight much with the 2nd and 4th guardians who possessed the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast and the Rift Space Dragon. The results were generally inconclusive. Standing on the earth, she stood in an invincible position. Diving into the water, the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast has an absolute advantage. The sky is the field of the Rift Space Dragon. They represent 3 types of super war weapons: underground cemetery for land, sea, and air. Each has its own characteristics, and it's hard to say who would win over the other. Apart from the Guardian Opera House Phantom on the 3rd level, the Guardians on the 1st, 2nd, and 4th levels are the most commonly deployed war weapons in the underground cemetery. They played a decisive role on the battlefield during the Divine Era. La la la. Just as past princess was stretching and preparing to turn over and soak a while longer, she suddenly heard a strange sound. Chapter 1136, Crack. Crack. It was a sound of something fragile like glass being destroyed by a tremendous force. It was a very unfamiliar sound for past princess. Boom. Boom. These were familiar footsteps that past princess often heard from her black iron giant, unstoppable and terrifyingly loud. Before past princess could react, a massive silver figure had already shattered the final defense of the black stone wall, forcefully intruding the edge of the lava lake. So naturally, past princess, in her vulnerable and defenseless state, was completely exposed to someone. Even Yun Shi, who had been charging straight ahead, never expected to see such a delicate beauty bathing in the magma right in the center of the nuclear explosion zone. That naked, smooth skin, snow-white and tender feet, and the shy yet captivating appearance, did something go wrong? Yunshi blinked and instinctively glanced at the immensely huge presence beside him, as well as the golden-red bubble-filled lava lake. Molten magma that can melt gold and iron, and a naked young girl. For the kingdom, this was a lethal threat, a strange scenery that felt completely out of place. She was bathing in the lava without clothes and seemed to be enjoying it immensely. This couldn't possibly be a human. No, something's not right, the aura from her. Yunshi didn't sense any sign of human life from this practically naked girl. Similarly, the huge black iron giant didn't feel alive, just like a giant and cold corpse. Why? 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 You. After being frozen for more than 10 seconds, Past Princess realized what had happened and started trembling all over. I can't get married anymore because I've been exposed. What a disrespectful person. Even Dad hasn't seen it. Past Princess, feeling extremely wronged, held onto her chest. Her golden hair, driven by magic, fiercely protected her body. But no matter how she covered up, large patches of pale skin were still visible. It's more accurate to say that this incomplete coverage makes people want it even more. Wait, you are. Yunshi's mind was a mess. He subconsciously wanted to say something, but he realized that it was wrong to speak as a true gentleman at this moment. Pafu, at that moment, Pafu was very excited. Steam gushed out from the silver giant's body, indicating that the temperature of the faceless god had risen again. Unlike the black iron giant over there, the faceless god was a real divine vessel, not a lifeless corpse. The higher the temperature released by the Pafu system, the closer the faceless god came to its original form, a perfect puppet with divinity. I'm going to kill you. Big tears rolled down Past Princess's eyes as she ran to the shore, putting on her princess dress and long stockings. Boom! In response to Past Princess's anger and unwillingness, the black iron giant submerged in lava also moved. Countless scorching magma fell from its heavy black iron armor, releasing immense pressure. Is it coming back to life? Yunshi could clearly sense that something inside that black iron giant was rapidly transforming, responding to the girl's shouts. Boundless determination, along with a rage that seemed capable of burning everything, awakened the dormant behemoth like opening its eyes. Die! Past Princess turned into white light and plunged into the chest of the black iron giant, completing the fusion with the most powerful weapon from the underground cemetery, in the astonished eyes of Yunshi. Wait, was that actually a part of the giant? Yunshi, who had discovered a secret, was too busy to pay attention because a huge 50-meter black iron giant was charging towards him. Despite the continuously bubbling lava lake beneath his feet, the black iron giant, being an earth child, had natural all-terrain combat abilities. Whether it was a lake, a swamp, or a lava lake, nothing could stop the black iron giant's advance. Come on. This battle has to be fought. Yunshi, who had come prepared, was operating the faceless god. His wrist and the Pafu system on his chest were emitting green light. The combination of the 3 rings allowed Yunshi to enter full combat mode. At this moment, Yunshi was completely synchronized with the faceless god. The princess passed her control over the black iron giant and raised her fists high. The immense power of the earth gathered in her fists, releasing temperatures exceeding thousands of degrees. Once ignited, this last giant's body could unleash enough force to penetrate the Earth's crust. Even the dragon at the top of the pyramid in this world cannot be compared to the black iron giant in terms of pure strength. It has the strongest fists in this world. In addition, the environment here leans towards the Earth child. You can say that the black iron giant right now is like an active volcano, easily absorbing enough power from the earth to destroy everything. The Fist of Lava is one of the secret techniques of the red steel genre. It is said to be the highest level martial arts that imitates the bloodline of the true giants from the endless god's domain. Princess doesn't need to learn it. Giants are born with this martial art, and in the lava lake terrain, their attack power automatically increases by 50%. Fist of Steel. This is the first time Yunshi has encountered an opponent who can naturally use this supreme martial art. Indeed, the ultimate goal pursued by the red steel genre is to cultivate a body like a giant, indestructible like an unshakable fortress. It is an unbeatable physique. This ultimate realm is a natural talent for some giants awakened by their Sioux ancestry, something that others can only envy but not obtain. The black iron giant in front of them is just like Yunshi, the perfect example of having a strong and robust body. When facing off against a strong body, there are only two choices. Yunshi was in a perfect position. He had two options to choose from. First, it was a direct clash. Take a step, charge forward, and then throw a punch. Hard fist, rushing forward with a bow stance and throwing a punch. With a speed surpassing the sound barrier, faster than the black iron giant, Yunshi's silver fist struck directly at the vital point on the chest of the black iron giant. The magma fist that was about to smash down suddenly transformed halfway, but it had no effect on Yunshi, who had already grabbed him in his arms. Then, using the element of surprise and his speed advantage, Yunshi stretched out his right foot without hesitation and kicked the black iron giant's ankle, causing the unstable giant to lose balance and then launching his ultimate move in one breath. Soft body, executing the strangulation technique. Locking the opponent's joints, restraining their body, preventing them from utilizing their strength. Showing it means pushing the other person down and overwhelming them. Chapter 1137. In this world, there has probably never been a soft body strangling technique used for superweapons. Whether it's the Black Iron Giant or the titled machine developed by the Leviathan Empire, they are both typical examples of being direct and using absolute strength, speed, and explosiveness to crush opponents. Even the Yellow Sparrow, the most agile titled machine in the continent developed by the Leviathan Empire, is only smaller in size and focuses more on reconnaissance and stealth. It is simply unimaginable for people in this world that a silver giant over 40 meters tall can use strangling techniques or anything similar. However, Yunshi still used it. He doesn't need to follow the common sense of this world, and the body of the faceless god is enough to support him in performing the unique skills of soft body. Don't forget, this is not a puppet developed as a weapon, but a miracle woven as a god's vessel on a higher level. Compared to the black iron giant of Earth Child in this world, the container prepared by the creator god Sia for the distant future of Su undoubtedly has a higher level. Even though all the weapon systems originally built inside this container have disappeared, the blank body alone possesses the invulnerable characteristic. The mere high temperature of a few thousand degrees is completely harmless to the faceless god, causing zero damage. On the other hand, the ground shredding technique displayed by Yunshi really troubled past Princess. Even when merged with the Black Iron Giant, her feelings were never this terrible, even when facing those arrogant dragons. Let me go. More lava fires gathered on the large hand of the Black Iron Giant, violently slamming onto the back of the silver giant, causing explosions of fire. Crack! The faceless god controlled by Yunshi expressionlessly snapped the left-hand joint of the Black Iron Giant. If the Black Iron Giant still had sensation, this would make it scream in pain. Let me go. Let me go, you idiot. Indeed, I shouted loudly, but it wasn't because of pain. As a refined spirit core of a deceased princess, the past princess no longer has that kind of sensation. Dead people don't feel pain, that's what makes them qualified war weapons. Moreover, even if its joints are twisted, the self-repair mechanism inside the black iron giant immediately activates, continuously absorbing the power of the earth to heal its own injuries. It was precisely with this ability that the past princess and the black iron giant, in a battle against 3 opponents, made the once arrogant dragon go crazy and ultimately defeated it. In a ground battle, the black iron giant, as an earth child, has no elements of losing. If you compare the states of both sides, the silver giant of the faceless god, as God's vessel, possesses a nearly invincible physical condition, with a health value that is impervious to any force below the legend ranked. On the other hand, the black iron giant has an affinity with the earth, being able to use the power of the earth to heal its own body, no matter how much damage it receives. This means it has a natural high life recovery ability, and unlimited endurance. Get lost. After Yun-Shi continuously twisted the joints of the black iron giant's hands, it opened its large mouth and bit the silver giant's neck. The black stone wall destroyed by Yun-Shi started to crumble and collapse, gathering back the power of the land that had been separated. What a powerful force! Yun-Shi realized he had underestimated the talent of this black iron giant. Maybe its physical strength is still superior to him, who is currently at a beginner stage. Boom! The black iron giant, biting Yun-Shi's neck, unleashed its furious power and threw away the silver giant that had been wrapped around it. That posture, like a crazy beast, released a terrifying sense of madness. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Only by erasing your existence can I wash away the shame. Even Daddy has never seen it. Never seen it. Cried Princess as she pounded the floor, crying and shouting. That was not intentional just now, Yun-Shi really wanted to explain, but there's no time for that. The battle mode of the Pafu system and the Faceless God can only last for 5 minutes. It's already been 1 minute since breaking through those black barriers. If he can't defeat this black iron giant in the remaining 4 minutes, he probably won't be safe inside the silver giant, and the Sia kingdom may be doomed. So, for Ein, Adley, and the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order who trust him, winning this battle is a must. You can do it, Yun-Shi. Keep going. The body of this silver giant is a gift prepared by the legendary puppet maker, who is much more skillful than you, for his dear friend, maybe even lover. Even though it was fiercely bitten by the giant, it didn't suffer any harm, which is the best proof. Strong body. Raised his fists again, then collided them against his chest. Yun-Shi is also getting used to this incredibly powerful body. The black iron giant with pure giant blood is probably in the middle stage, while the faceless god is probably in the ultimate stage. And not only the body, but the soft body may also be the final stage. The puppet maker prepared a perfect divine vessel, an empty faceless god, for his friend, maybe lover. What he lacks is only the method of unleashing the power of this faceless god. In the brief confrontation just now, he already has an idea of how to unleash this power. The god's vessel naturally uses the power of the gods. He has indeed encountered the same power before. The legend ranked is unreachable for any hero ranked field, but for Yun-Shi, who is a star child, he has already experienced it. Yes, those who can control the god's vessel will surely know how to use the power of the gods, just like instinct. Let's recall the feeling during the closest encounter with the power of the gods in the Trial of the Stars, which is the legend-ranked field. Let the barriers between heaven and earth, humans and gods disappear. With the body of a human, surpass that boundary and go beyond all limits. Even if the opponent is the gods of the slimes, Shea Longness the Sky Sword, who possesses the eternal immortal girl form, can still push them to the point of psychological collapse. This was also Yun-Shi's first time experiencing the power of the legend ranked with his own body, surpassing the world's rules and entering a world that can only be entered by powerful beings at the pinnacle of the endless god's domain. I understand now, teacher Cassina the battle god. Chapter 1138, Earth's Pulse. After gathering all the black stone barriers, past princess poured the power of these barriers into her own black iron heavy armor. The armor called Earth's Battle Garment is a weapon specially granted by the King of Undead, the ruler of the underground cemetery, for the last giant. During battle, they can freely switch between attack mode and defense mode. The defense mode can create a huge strategic defense layer, like a wall made of black stones. The attack mode can instantly increase the weight of the black iron giant several times over. Gravity domination. The black iron giant doesn't need to follow scientific laws like human-titled machines. It is not a product of science, but a mysterious creation. The giant is a natural earth child, with one of the most powerful abilities in the Leviathan bloodline, second only to the dragon clan. Super liberation. The past princess's eyes turned red. Even in the war against the dragons, she had never suffered such a humiliating disgrace. Exposed to others, and then rudely pushed down and trampled upon. Revenge. Revenge. Overthrow this monster that came out of nowhere. This thing is not a giant, it doesn't have any traces of giant bloodline. The past princess, who fused with the black iron giant, is completely certain of this. From the body of this silver giant, you can't feel any signs of intelligence, but there is also no scent of death. It's like the silver giant is just a simple puppet. No matter what it is, she wants to tear it apart. The right hand of the black iron giant started to swell unnaturally, followed by the left hand, left foot, right foot, and finally the entire body began to distort. The height didn't increase much, but the overall size almost doubled horizontally. This transformation occurred as the giant's flesh absorbed the tremendous power of the Earth's veins. The current black iron giant weighs several times more than before and its strength has increased by over 500%. Originally, using this furious state, it tore apart a dragon with its bare hands and rescued Princess Past. In contrast, Yunshi entered a state of peaceful breathing. Free from all distractions, Yunshi wholeheartedly recalled the state when teacher Cassina the battle god took over his body. At that time, as the water god's bride, he gained the support of the entire water god's world. With the help of the wind sail robe, the white emperor mask, and the water god's crown, he embraced the power of Hydra the water god and became the spokesperson of the world. Yes, that is also a form of God's vessel, but different from the faceless God. It is a living container, with the authority obtained as the water god's bride. It was because he had the qualification of God's vessel, at that time that Cassina the battle god could bestow his will upon him and defeat Sheolongnus the sky sword who attempted to invade the water god's world. The only one who can fight against gods is another god. The power that corresponds to the legend ranked can only be the power of the legend ranked. Using hero ranked moves, God's vessel cannot show its true power. The faceless god corresponds to the essence of the god's field. Using simple rigid or soft body moves to control it would be a waste of its godly body. Gods against gods. Give it a try, there's not much time left. Facing the enraged black iron giant, Yunshi felt immense pressure. It's not just about winning or losing, but it's a time-limited ultimate challenge. He has used that move twice. The first time was when he was possessed by teacher Cassina the battle god and his opponent was Sheolongnus the sky sword. The second time, it was in the future shown at the White Lotus Secret Treasure exhibition, where he faced the challenge of Cassina the battle god. After immersing in the gravel of the river of time for 1,000 years, he broke through and danced in the sky with Cassina the battle god. The third kind of divine technique he mastered. The passage of time seemed to slow down at this moment. Yunshi lifted his left hand, like a graceful bird spreading its wings, while his right hand descended. One hand corresponds to heaven. One hand corresponds to earth. The black iron giant is naturally the embodiment of the power of earth. It can endlessly use the power of the earth when stepping on the ground. The realm that Yunxi is about to enter is a higher level called the field. Heaven and earth, yin and yang, strength and gentleness. This is the undefeated champion of the Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament. The Sky Sword Kasina, the Battle God, created this divine technique after reaching the legend ranked. It is a legend within the Battle God genre. Fearless Charge. The black iron giant, with its body flowing with hot magma, deserved to be called the lava giant. No matter what's in front of us, smash it. This was the mandatory order given by Princess Past. No need to consider who the opponent is, just need to know where they are, then charge up and defeat them. Fearless and invincible, even the ancient weapons like the Emerald Sea Dragon Beast and Rift Space Dragon would not want to face this move on the ground. It was the black iron giant's ultimate technique. The entire black iron giant resembled a suddenly moving volcano, carrying the aura of destruction, charging towards the silver giant that suddenly stood still. Behind it, there was a blazing trail of fire, looking as if hell had opened its mouth. Seeing this, Yunxi stretched out his own white palm and synchronized his consciousness with the Pafu system. The Pafu system, which could originally support about 4 minutes, began to sound an alarm due to the rapid heating. The slime separated from Yunxi's wrist and chest started to heat up, and the other sub-bodies scattered within the body of the faceless god also shouted, Pafu, Pafu. Just by starting, the load capacity of the Pafu system approached its limit value. This was the cost of wanting to use divine techniques. If Pafu's body characteristics weren't special, and if it hadn't absorbed some of star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel's flesh and blood, this move would probably be impossible to complete. The physical vessel of the faceless god. Yunxi's own memories about this move. Pafu system, which serves as the connection point between the two sides and possesses the flesh and blood of star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel. Only when all 3 conditions are met can Yunxi unleash this divine technique, known as the Magnificence of Sky Dance from the Kasina, the Battle God lineage. The past princess, transformed into a gigantic lava giant, approached Yunxi, who was making a strange starting gesture, and suddenly felt a lightness throughout her body. A silvery radiance flashed as Yunxi raised his wrist and gently pressed it against the lava giant's skin, which could exceed 10,000 degrees, lifting the lava giant that possibly weighed over 10,000 tons in an incredibly gentle manner. Yes, this was a strike that disregarded the laws of physics, a strike that stepped into the realm of the divine. The first stage of the Magnificence of Sky Dance, initiate. Chapter 1139 The Magnificence of Sky Dance Heaven Style, activate. Yunxi's hands, perfectly and accurately pressed against the chest of the black iron giant, instantly creating a pathway that connects to its soul. The two of them flew straight up into the sky, dancing together. The immense energy from the black iron giant, taking the form of a lava giant, was instantly extracted and flowed into the body of the faceless god. Only the god's vessel could extract and contain such vast energy in an instant, so this technique was not meant for ordinary people or hero-ranked individuals, but a true divine skill. Oh, 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 oh. The past princess, who was lifted from the ground and tightly held by the chest, let out an unusually terrified scream. She is afraid of heights. Yes, it's an unspeakable fact, and it's a weakness that most giants, who are used to the power of the earth, have. The reason why it is not a weakness is because as long as they walk on the ground, even a dragon would find it almost impossible to lift them into the air. As an earth-child giant, they are basically merged with the ground when standing on it, making it impossible to be knocked away. However, the Magnificence of Sky Dance is such an unreasonable move that even Shea Longness the Sky Sword can be grabbed and sent flying, let alone a mere black iron giant. Pafu. Pafu, who is particularly interested in groping breasts, let out an excited cry, causing the faceless god's hands to press tightly against the black iron giant's chest. Synchronize, absorb, and then use the opponent's strength to suppress them, achieving absolute control. This is the foundation of the divine technique, the magnificence of sky dance. For this reason, Yunshi must fully experience the existence of the past princess and reach her innermost self. The parts where they make contact start producing a large-scale tide of spiritual energy, creating a vast lake of spiritual energy. Although it cannot compare to Shea Longness the Sky Sword, who possesses the incredible life force of billions of slimes, this lake of spiritual energy that spreads out like the dragon roar wave is enough to prove that the black iron giant has an incredibly large amount of spiritual energy. In terms of quantity, it is almost surpassing the upper limit of a hero-ranked being. At least, a human hero-ranked being could never possess such a level of spiritual energy. Yunshi quickly arrived at a general conclusion in his mind. This was the knowledge planted in seed of the battle god by Cassina the battle god, the basis for unleashing the magnificence of sky dance. The magnificence of sky dance, a divine technique of the battle god genre, was not originally meant for humans to use. It was a super-divine skill specially designed for gods and demons. Using palms as a medium of contact, it unleashed a technique of energy flow that could be considered a nightmare for divine blood creatures, utilizing the opponent's power to defeat them. It was a divine technique developed by Cassina the battle god, who reached the end of the path of combat skills and stepped into a realm that could rival gods and demons, all in his human form. Energy flow, synchronize. Absorb. 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 Pafu, 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 rub the chest, rub the chest, rub the chest. Breakthrough point, appear. With Pafu's incredibly skilled invasion, the armor on the chest of the black iron giant crumbled apart, just like when Cassina the battle god defeated Shea Longness the Sky Sword. As soon as the breakthrough point emerged, it meant that the opponent had been completely suppressed by the magnificence of sky dance. Ah, 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 ah. Even Dad has never touched it. No, not there. I won't be able to find a husband. The girl's cries echoed through the skies, and Yunshi easily broke through the heart of the past princess, caused by her fear of heights. This time, without teacher Cassina the battle god around, Yunshi's own energy effortlessly rushed into the core of the black iron giant and immediately entered the deepest part of the past princess's body. Yunshi sensed the core of that massive energy, which had returned to its original form. With both hands holding his own body, he desperately rejected his inner girl. Sorry, but there's no way to stop now. Let me enter inside you. In the following moments, the past princess suddenly felt sensations she had never experienced before while being alive. It was a state that was like being asleep but not asleep, like being drunk but not drunk, completely chaotic and unexplainable. Even though the body had long since died and ceased to exist as a physical entity, it reacted in an unimaginable way to the huge spiritual energy from outside. The snowy white skin had a lovely color, the nose could smell a scent that made the heart race, and the chest area was tender and fragrant, indescribably wonderful. Ahem. For the past princess who had long since died, this feeling was so unfamiliar, yet so beautiful. What is this? Why? For the past princess, who only had the pleasure of soaking in a lava bath in her life, this level of excitement was more than 100 times greater than bathing, leaving her overwhelmed by the mesmerizing and bone-chilling scent. At the age of 12, when she died, she had no knowledge of this. She didn't have the divine era of Adley as an enlightenment book, she was truly a blank slate. The deceased should not be able to experience this sensation, let alone have a body that had long turned to ashes. The past princess only had her soul core connected to the black iron giant. But the amazing skill of sky dance is such that it can capture, suppress, and synchronize even the existence of gods and demons beyond the world. Compared to Shea Longness the Sky Sword, who could still resist with all her might and was eventually broken through by chance, past Princess's resistance ability was much weaker, or rather, she had no defense at all. Before long, tears and wailing turned into sweet, pitying whispers, as if lovers were whispering in each other's ears. Within the core of the Black Iron Giant, past Princess, who was captured by Yun Shi, stood with her snow-white and bare feet tense, enduring an indescribable mix of charm and sobbing, making her irresistibly adorable. The 12-year-old girl's chest was as soft and wobbly as a marshmallow or jelly, pressing down on it felt like touching the clouds, indescribably wonderful. Despite her petite size, she had an endless elasticity. With just a light pressure, Yunshi's palm was immediately bounced off by this delightful bosom, creating an unparalleled sensation. It was soft, smooth, and had a kind of elasticity that seemed to push Yunshi's hand away. Even without relying on sight, just by focusing on the nerves in his palm, Yunshi could picture the adorable appearance of that small, tender chest. More spiritual energy was extracted by Yunshi's hands from the Black Iron Giant's body, forming vast clouds of spiritual energy in the sky. These fluffy clouds of energy surrounded Yunshi and the Black Iron Giant, taking away any chance of resistance that the already weak giant had left. The channel for the flow of energy is fully open. Soaring high in the sky, moving gracefully, this is the magnificent heaven style of the sky dance. Chapter 1140 Crack Crack. In the sky of the Sia Kingdom, there were continuous cracking sounds coming from the massive cloud of energy. It meant that the Black Iron Giant's defenses were being broken, and Yunshi could do whatever he wanted to it. Every crack represented another time the indestructible body of the Black Iron Giant was being crushed. Well, don't misunderstand, this isn't about torture or anything like that. It's just Yunshi using his sealing powers. Time was really tight, he didn't have any time to think about anything extra. In this battle, he really gave it his all, even forcing out the incredible move called the Magnificence of Sky Dance, which was the best proof. Thankfully, Pafu, who had the talent for rubbing chests, was very helpful in helping Yunshi break through the defense of the Black Iron Giant. With the good touch developed through Pafu's training, Yunshi was able to perform the Magnificence of Sky Dance this time with ease. In just 1 minute, they quickly captured the past princess's city, completely breaking down all of the young princess's defenses, both physical and mental. By absorbing the opponent's energy and forming a special reverse circuit, this is the crucial first stage of the divine fighting technique called the Magnificence of Sky Dance, also known as the Heaven Style that rises to the sky. When the total amount of energy gathered in Yunshi's hands, pressing against the past princess's chest, reached the requirement, a huge flower bloomed in the sky. Around the bodies of the two giants, countless tidal waves of energy transformed into massive pillars of light. This was a complete mixture of Yunshi's energy, the past princess's energy, and the Black Iron Giant's energy, causing distortions in their life imprints and signs of interference. Whoa whoa whoa. The past princess let out a quiet sob, whether out of unwillingness or resignation, realizing there was no way out. Hiss. A large amount of steam burst out of the body of the faceless god, a sign of the Pafu system overheating. Complete. The huge beam of energy connected the heavens and the earth, sealing the Black Iron Giant with a barrier almost as strong as the highest rank in the legends. This is the power of the Heaven Style, and it is currently Yunshi's limit. As for the Earth Style, which forms higher-level seals and extracts divine power from the earth, Yunshi is unable to use it at all, as it exceeds his abilities. After sealing all the energy nodes on the Black Iron Giant's body, Yunshi finally released his hands that were tightly pressed against the giant's chest. Then, he reversed and embraced the giant's body. The next moment, the two giants started falling together from the sky. Heaven Style concluded. Yunshi's battle mode had reached its limit as well. Just like when he first arrived in this world called Sia, Yunshi hugged the body of the black iron giant and fell from the sky. It was like twin stars falling from the sky, inseparable. In the next moment, he held onto the big body of the past princess black iron giant and kept his hands close to her chest in a strange posture. The two bodies rapidly descended from high up in the sky towards the ground. Boom! The ground at the center of the nuclear explosion was once again blasted open by the two people falling from the sky, creating a huge trench several kilometers wide and stretching for dozens of kilometers. That scene was too shocking for the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order in the distance. It was like the power of a divine being in legends. Yunshi, panting heavily, looked at the black iron giant that he had pushed to the ground. His chest was tightly pressed against it, his feet apart, and his entire body locked by the enormous energy of the giant. Did we win? Did we really win? The energy of the black iron giant's whole body was sealed. Because of the fall from the high altitude, the black armor was covered in dust, but it still had power. The earth is continuously providing this giant with the ability to recover. Truly, it is an Earth Child's giant. Even though all the energy nodes are sealed by the heaven style, as long as it continues to lie on the ground and absorb the power of the earth like this, it will eventually regain its strength. Only heaven style can't fully seal this black iron giant. Maybe we need to use earth style as well to achieve absolute confinement. Unfortunately, Yunshi can't use it. He has already reached his limit by using heaven style to unleash the magnificence of sky dance as the faceless god. There's no need to think about using earth style. In the center of the nuclear blast area that has become a death zone, unexpected flowers bloom on the once lifeless ground, within the huge gorges created by the two. Those are natural phenomena formed by the dispersion of spiritual energy sealed by heaven style. It's the same beautiful scenery as when Sheolongness the Sky Sword was sealed. The magnificence of sky dance is a divine technique used to save the world. It is a move that brings life and hope to the dead world. Offering the lives of gods and demons as sacrifices, bestowing blessings upon the beautiful world. Ah. With a still hazy mind, the past princess trembled slightly, slowly opening her eyes. Cough. Yunshi, the faceless god who maintained his embrace with the black iron giant as they fell from the sky, stood up, ending the battle mode. Then, without hesitation, he reached out his hands and picked up the black iron giant, who was in an even worse condition than himself. Sky, flowers, princess hug. It's truly a picturesque scenery, full of poetic charm. Let go of me, even my father has never hit me like this. The voice of Princess Past sounded weak and powerless. All the energy nodes of the black iron giant were blocked, and now Yunshi carried her away from the ground in a princess hug, leaving her with no strength to resist. I'm sorry. I have no other choice. Yunshi carefully lifted the body of the black iron giant, ensuring that this earth child had no chance to touch the earth's veins and restore Su. This posture is actually very tiring, you know. Who can understand the hardships he's enduring? You. I hate you the most. Past princess, tears in her eyes, had to accept the humiliating fate of being captured. From the beginning to the end of the battle, it was only a short period of over a minute, but for past princess, who was defeated and captured, it felt as long as a century. Too many things she didn't understand, too many unfamiliar feelings, made her still feel like it was all a dream. Next, what awaits the doomed princess is a very tragic ending. What will happen to her now that she has lost her fighting ability? On the third day of the underground cemetery's mission to conquer the world, the black iron giant that attacked the Sia kingdom was defeated and captured by a mysterious ancient weapon sent by Sia's ace. That scene was witnessed by a talented girl from the later Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order and inspired her to create an extraordinary masterpiece. It depicts the silver giant holding the massive black iron giant in its arms at dawn, with sunlight bathing both giants and emitting an incredible beauty. Under their feet, there were flowers that didn't match the season and ruins left after a nuclear explosion. Death, Flowers, Princess Carrie, is the title of that famous painting. Chapter 1141. That day, the capital of Sia Kingdom was empty of people. Due to their blind confidence in the world's #1 nuclear explosion queen, except for a few nobles, the majority of the city's residents believed that the queen's participation in this battle would surely lead to victory. There is no enemy that the nuclear explosion forbidden spell cannot handle. Even if there were another empire's #1 magic army legion, it would only be a matter of one shot. The following events proved that Her Majesty, the world's #1 queen, was indeed worthy of trust. Bathed in the morning sunlight, the silver giant emerged from the Divine Era Tower, carrying the spoils of war back to the capital. Oh, 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 oh. The huge silver figure had just appeared at the horizon's end when someone couldn't help but shout in excitement. The outcome of the battle between the silver giant and the black iron giant had actually been communicated by those intelligence personnel who risked their lives to enter the nuclear explosion forbidden zone a minute before. However, witnessing this magnificent victory with their own eyes was truly breathtaking. Sia Kingdom, victorious. Even the mighty giants sent by the underground cemetery couldn't defeat the nuclear explosion queen, who was the world's #1. Although it was strange that they didn't use the nuclear explosion forbidden spell and instead sent ancient weapons to defeat their opponent, victory is still victory. History is always written by the winners. The winner is everything. Without asking for a reason, people automatically accepted the fact that the silver giant was the secret weapon of the Sia Kingdom. People started calling the giant the Faceless God, a name that was originally mentioned casually during the dark period of Ain but became a true legend. The day the legend of the Faceless God began was when they defeated the black iron giant and brought it back to the royal city as a trophy, even though it seemed unbeatable. As the silver giant approached, people finally realized what a monstrous creature the 50-meter-tall black iron giant was. Just the weight of its body covered in heavy black iron armor was enough to destroy everyone's confidence without even needing to do anything else. Ordinary people are really like ants compared to these extraordinary beings from the Divine Era. So big. How much iron ore was used for that armor? No, I swear in the name of my blacksmith grandfather, that is not just ordinary iron, but a more advanced mysterious metal. That's definitely a god weapon level armament. Even standing on the walls of the capital city, people could only look up at the approaching giant. As the walls of the former first sovereign country on the continent, they were not short. Walls over 20 meters high could withstand the assault of almost any Night Order during the Night Era. Even the Imperial Magic Armored Legion would have to exert a lot of effort to deal with walls of this level. But in front of the moving giant, this 20-meter-high wall is barely reaching their waist, something they can easily step over with just a stretch of their legs. How can we fight against such enemies when we are not a country from the Divine Era? Even in the Divine Era, where there were heroes and wizards everywhere, the black iron giant was a terrifying war weapon that could tear apart dragons. It stood at the top of the world pyramid. But, we won. Just realizing this, as they looked at Ain and Adley returning with the silver giant, along with their holy silver dragon Night Order, everyone seemed to realize that a new era had begun. The nuclear explosion queen, the strongest in the world, and her holy silver dragon Night Order, starting with the defeat of the black iron giant, were no longer underestimated by the Leviathan Empire. At this time, no one knew that the one truly controlling the Faceless God was not the queen of this country, but someone else. So heavy. Princess Yun Shi, carrying the black iron giant all the way from the nuclear explosion zone back to the capital, was sweating profusely. Using the body of the Faceless God to perform the magnificence of Sky Dance was really reckless. Now, his whole body's muscles were groaning, which were the after effects of the huge burden on his body when the massive energy channels opened. And this was only a small part of the burden when performing the magnificence of sky dance. Most of it was borne by the faceless god, who was a divine vessel, and Pafu. This move doesn't even have a chance to be used for beings below the legend ranked. If it wasn't for Cassina the battle god taking over his body and remembering the way of using the magnificence of sky dance, along with the future evolved in the river of time by the White Lotus secret treasure, Yunshi wouldn't even be able to learn, let alone use, this move. This is something that Cassina the battle god didn't teach Yunshi in his seat of the battle god. It's completely beyond what was taught. I am not heavy, not at all. Die. Die. You big villain. Give my body back. If you don't give it back, I will curse you to death. With his body sealed, only the soul core of the past princess can move around Yunshi, occasionally using her fists and legs to attack the main culprit who caused her such misery. Of course, her attack power is almost zero. Without the formidable body of the Black Iron Giant, the past princess, who only has her soul core left, can only scare children now. A gust of wind blowing, making the curtains move slightly, or having hair appear in the mirror, this is the extent of the past princess' interference with reality. For Yunshi, who had already encountered countless monsters and even pretended to be the successor of the ghost sword, this level of mischief was absolutely adorable. Being attacked by those soft and fluffy punches and kicks, similar to cotton, actually provided some much-needed rest for his exhausted body. It would be even better if it were stronger. Right there, and there too. Step on it again, give it a kick. It's really heavy. This princess hug might be the heaviest in Sia's history, and the Pafu system is already protesting. Swoosh. Swoosh. A large amount of steam gushed out from the head and shoulders of the faceless god, a sign of the Pafu system overload. It only took a little over a minute to defeat the Black Iron Giant, but it took several hours to carry the giant back, and Yunshi couldn't just leave it unattended. If the giant touches the ground, it won't take long for the seal of the magnificence of sky dance to be broken by the surging power of the earth veins. In the first stage, only the heaven style of the magnificence of sky dance cannot completely seal the giant. At most, it temporarily seals all the vital energy nodes inside the giant's body. This very long princess hug is really unavoidable. There is only one place in the entire Sia kingdom that can deal with this giant. The tower where the faceless god resides is almost as mysterious as the underground cemetery. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.